The 93X Half-Ass Morning Show podcast is sponsored by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning.
Get your home ready for winter. Schedule your furnace tune-up with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning and save $30. Visit standardheating.com to book and lock in your savings.
The 93X Half-Ass Morning Show. 93.
Yeah, all right. You know what, Josh? It's been a hell of a week, but if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't change a damn thing.
Well, that's good to hear. That's you know what? I got to say, you kind of warmed me up a little bit because usually on Fridays you come in and you just don't care.
Well, I don't.
Oh, you still don't? But you feel good about the week?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. You got a great attitude.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to give you the impression that I cared. I'm just saying that I wouldn't change a thing. No regrets. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else on earth than right here with you, pumping out a Friday broadcast.
I feel more than the same way.
Pumping it out. Let's get it out of the way. And then act like it never happened. Welcome to the Half-Ass Morning Show. This morning, another edition of a little gimmick called Who Dis. It's just a cute way to interview a big-time somebody, but we like it. We'll go ahead with that around 7:30. Tune in and find out who this is. At 8:15, our lawyer friend, Ryan Pacyga, is going to swing by for a chat ski. He's always very interesting and informative, Ryan. Might even offer up some legal advice for a listener or two if you text in nicely. And from what I understand, today Ryan would like to talk about cell phone rights. Do you know anything about that type of thing, Josh? Cell phone rights? I know one thing. My cellular telephone has the right to remain silent.
Well, that's pretty much what is happening.
You follow what I'm saying? It's a little cell phone joke. My cell phone has the right to remain silent.
Just surprised Josh didn't come up with that one.
I don't know what that means.
What time is it? Are we live?
Yes.
My understanding of what he wants to talk about.
This friggin' crowd, man.
By the way, good morning, Wapple, Dana, and Ashley.
Thank you.
Good morning.
That's a weird response. My understanding is he's going to talk about what happens if you get pulled over and the law enforcement officer says, hey, let me take a look at that phone of yours. So I think he's going to say what you're required to do, what you're not allowed to do, that kind of thing.
That is interesting.
Now, what I always do is I hide it rectally, so they don't even know I have a phone.
Whether or not the cop can check your phone, the cop says, hey, I thought I saw you sending out text messages while you were driving. And Ryan's going to discuss whether that cop can snatch that phone out of your hand and go ahead for himself or herself and read through, check the times, things like that you're talking about.
That's my understanding.
Well,
He'll clear that up.
I'd probably just hand it over. I'd be like, here you go.
Don't swipe left on any of those photos.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would probably be a little nervous about that aspect. I'd be like, careful what you don't accidentally click anything.
I have a friend who did that. He's like, you got to take a look at he was sending me, or he was handing me his phone to show me a picture of this job he was working on. He was proud of kind of how it looked. And then he's like, oh, don't go to the left. Whatever you do. He warned me.
Jesus, yeah, one of the most...
I handed it back and just said, why don't you handle this? And
Yeah.
just show me what.
One of the most stressful moments of my life was a number of years ago when I handed my cellular telephone to my, 10-year-old niece because she wanted to look at something or another. A picture. I think maybe I had a picture of my dog or cat, or I don't know what was living with me at the time. And so she wanted to see it. Handed her my phone. And then it suddenly dawned on me. And I screamed. I mean, I really do believe in my memory, I remember that I screamed to her, do not swipe one way or the other. Don't move from that friggin' spot.
I had a really close call a wedding weekend a number of years ago. Next morning, at the restaurant having some brunch, I was hanging out with my significant other's brother, and he's like, oh, show me that pic you took last time. That was so good. So I pull my phone up and I'm like swiping in front of him. And I realized I'd taken some photos with his sister the night before.
Oh, yeah?
But thankfully, he had just like taken a sip of his orange juice and tilted his head back right as I got past that one to get to the ones he wanted. It was within milliseconds of him seeing it. That would have been horrific.
Well, I don't know. I would have thought that went pretty cool.
Maybe he wanted to see his sister in a different light.
Yeah.
Or pose.
I'm sure
You
he
got
did.
you got dirty pictures of your girlfriend on your telephone?
This was a long time ago. This was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, you
Oh.
still want. I mean, you didn't answer the question. Do
Oh.
you have dirty pictures of that girlfriend on your cell phone?
No, I think I don't have those anymore.
I'm talking about, so this was with your ex-wife?
Yes.
Oh. You got any new dirty pictures of your new lady on there?
Scroll if you want to.
Well, that would mean no. The answer to that then is no.
Just of Josh.
What was that? What movie was it where the one baseball player says to the other, the baseball movie, hey, you want to, God dang it, how's your wife and my kids?
Oh, yeah.
Is that Major League? But there's a different movie line where a guy says, you want to see forget it, I can't come up with it. How's your wife and my kids? That one I can remember. What else is going on? Cell phone rights, okay.
I wonder who has the dirtiest pictures, like ones they've taken in their personal life on their phones right now between the 5 of us. I'm going to guess Ashley.
Yeah, probably. That's a good guess.
And I'm going to guess the amount is also, it would probably bury anybody else on the show.
Yeah, it's an insane amount.
Shane, I wouldn't say buried.
I don't delete much either. I'm really bad at deleting stuff. Like, I think I have like 400 unread texts just because I don't delete spam or anything.
If we're talking cellular phone filth, I think it'd be a much closer contest than you guys think between Ashley and I. I don't know why, Josh. I don't know why you want to gift her the filth award every time, forgetting who's been sitting next to you here for 28 years.
Well, I'm basing it on, I'm just assuming current partners. So maybe I wasn't thinking that there could be past partners on a phone.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't keep past partners stuff.
Oh, I got all the oldies.
Yeah, see that answer.
I'm a fan of the oldies.
You like going through the classics?
Yeah, I got everybody on there. Everybody.
And Nick doesn't even, like sort it by albums, like that. So you can just scroll back all the way 20 years.
I can't tell one for the other.
Yeah, I don't sort my photos into albums either, Wapple, and that's what
Really?
gets me in trouble when I hand somebody my phone.
You don't hide them? Why don't you hide them?
No, it's just a lot of work.
It's not
Oh.
that much work.
Yeah, it's really not that.
Just kind of hold it
It's
and
just
go to
like an
hide.
extra- It's an extra step, and yeah.
But it could save you some trouble.
And it's not like I'm just doing it to like one photo every like month or so.
Well, then
your
I
thumb would get
select them all.
sore.
Yeah, like I didn't know you could do it all at once.
You always want to hand Ashley the filth award every friggin' day, and it offends me.
I'm
here it
sorry.
is. Here it is.
I feel terrible.
You shouldn't feel so bad about it. It's Friday, and I don't care. Here it is. That baseball movie, Baseball Line. It was a terrible, terrible movie. Maybe you watched it, Josh, starring Tom Selleck. Mr. Baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Awful.
rough.
Yeah.
But at one point or another, someone, a teammate of his, says, "You got any pictures of your wife?" And the guy says, "No." "You want some?" That's what I was trying to come up with. I always really like when Ryan Pacyga stops by.
Me too. He gets better each time, I
He's
think.
a tight pal of the program, and you think he gets better every time?
Yeah, he does.
The guy just nails it. He does. So we'll find out whatever he's talking about here with cell phone rights outside of what Josh just mentioned.
I wish everyone had an opportunity to see him 25 years ago to today. He's obviously always been a bright guy. I mean, you can't just change that. But he was the life of the party back in the day, and now he's a buttoned-up professional businessman.
That's so weird thinking of him like
And
that.
I don't mean that in any disrespect whatsoever.
We had some fun.
Yeah, I mean, because he's he's got such an important job and he's so professional. But there are times you're like, wait a minute, that guy's a defense attorney?
We had some fun.
I remember on a lot of the early booze cruises, you know who loved him the most almost? The cops. The cops on the boat loved to hang with that guy, even though, they're opposed in a way, Mm-hmm.
I suppose they were very familiar with him. They saw him.
Just a lot of mutual respect.
Mutual respect, but I would imagine a lot of cops in the Twin Cities know Ryan Pacyga because they see him in court.
Yeah, judges too. He's
Day
punished
after
everybody.
day, month after month, year after year. He's been doing it for forever and ever.
That's what I. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go right ahead.
That's what I was gonna say. So when I went and had my court hearing with Pacyga,
He represented you when you were.
When I got my DWI, but when he walked in that courtroom, it made me feel so much better. It was like the South Park episode where Bono's just walking down, hey, 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 hey.
Yeah.
That
He's
does
just
feel good,
shooting
yeah.
the breeze with the judge and everything. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Just got inside jokes with everybody.
Yeah. How's your kids? How's the wife?
Yeah, that's great. You're right. You don't want the lawyer where they walk in and the judge is like, this effing guy. Right.
No.
Back in the day, when we used to hang out at Allery's, that's where there were nights at Allery's with Ryan Pacyga where I really thought, okay, we're just going to spend the night. You know what I mean?
Well, you knew if you got in any trouble, you got a guy right there that could get you out of it.
You know, when you get there at 4 in the afternoon, that becomes a long process. Are we ever getting out of here? So we're not going to leave? We had a great time. All right.
Hanging out with Ryan, did you ever pay for anything?
No.
No, he wouldn't allow that.
I ain't kidding you. I think one night at Allery's, I think he bought 30 pizzas. Who wants a pizza?
Awesome.
It was
He's that
crazy.
type of guy.
He bought pizza for everybody in the bar. We ate a lot of pizza. All right, what else is going on this glorious Friday morning? Well, speaking of cellular telephones, you friggin' young people, you time-wasting, company-killing, leak in the payroll young people. There's a new report out talking about how much time folks waste at work and how much money that costs the company. And Christmas time, we always get this report, right? Is it Christmas time, Josh?
The time wasting?
Yeah.
I mean, time wasting a lot's around the March Madness, that kind of
March
thing.
Madness,
Yeah.
that's what it is. I'm sorry. It's not Christmas time. It's March Madness. I get burned out on that. They're always dumping that on us. Well, everyone's watching the basketball tournament. It's costing the company this amount of money. The reason I get burned out on those statistics is, you know what? It's a couple weeks out of the year where we all pretend to be massive college basketball fans. Get off our ass, company. Right? It's a couple of weeks. We're going to F off. We're going to stare at our phones or our computer and watch the ball games and bet back and forth and pay attention to our bracket. The reason that burns me out is, for Christ's sake, just give us that, right?
Let us have a little bit of joy in this otherwise miserable existence.
But what we're talking about here is just day after day after day after day after day. People can't stop finger banging their phones at work, and they're watching their favorite, you folks get involved in those series and whatnot, right? Those. And the young folks are just straight up ripping off the companies that they work for.
I would say for me, it's more like Instagram Reels and Facebook videos and TikTok videos. That's what wastes a lot of my time.
Well,
just stupid videos, just constantly scrolling.
Yeah, I think that's like my youngest is like that, right? Where it's just these very short videos over and over and over. I was telling him, like, this is what I imagine they do to the prisoners at Guantanamo.
Nah.
This is pure torture. How do you sit there and just watch videos that are a couple seconds and they're flashing by? When you watch a movie and they got a guy, he's bound to a chair and there's just all these images. Or at a Nine Inch Nails concert, it's the same type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like
Blast heavy metal
torture. It's not
music.
entertainment to me.
So you're saying your son, more importantly, my godson, he sits in front of the computer, he clicks on all these videos, but he never watches one in its entirety?
Well, they're just so fast.
Oh.
So the entirety is just a few seconds.
Yeah, it's like 14-second videos.
Yeah.
However long.
I know what you
post
mean.
for.
Okay, I know what you mean.
And it's just one after the next after. And I tell him, like, why don't we watch something that's got a plot line? It's got some rising action, a twist, climax, a conclusion. It's got a whole thing involved.
Is it this type of thing, Josh? Because my friggin' wife, she's a phone banger. She's playing with her phone all the time, right? Is it this kind of thing? Because I'll sit next to her once in a while. We don't really sit together much, but maybe I'll see over her shoulder a time or two. She'll watch these videos where it's like this. A cat falls down a flight of stairs, and then it cuts quickly to a baby getting attacked by a lion. And then it's the next one is you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then it's a drunk urinating in a corner.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Then,
It's like you're just assaulted by all these nothingness.
Okay, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
We're used to it by now.
Yep.
But Wapple, what did you say when you're wasting time at work? You're doing what?
Well, it's just wasting time on my phone. It's just like watching those Instagram reels, and Facebook videos.
You're not saying at work, just in general.
In general,
like on the toilet or.
That all comes into play here. That all comes into play here as far as young people at work wasting time on their cellular telephones. They're watching their favorite series. They're watching the Instagram. They're playing with TikTok. They're updating their Facebook. And so what this report has concluded, the average young person watches just under 236 hours of entertainment while they're on the clock. 236 hours a year.
A year, okay.
They're looking at their phones, doing this and that while they're on the clock, and that totals up to 10 days, 10 wasted days a year.
10 full days.
Yeah, 10 full days.
That's a lot of time.
That is.
You know who buries that, and I know for sure, Wapple, you'll get this reference, but Conan O'Brien's assistant, Sona.
Oh, yeah.
And Conan, he puts up with it, but she binge-watched like the entire series of Friends while she's sitting there supposed to be working.
Holy
and
cow.
she's blunt about it.
Yeah, like Conan comes up to her desk and he's like, "What's going on over here?" And she's like, "Oh, just watching Friends season 4. How many times have you seen this Friends show? 7 times.
And I know they turn it into a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's real. It seems like it's pretty legit.
Well, it's like every bit comes from a real place. You know what I mean? So he had to have caught her a couple times.
A couple listeners are texted in. 651-989-9393, of course, is how you get a hold of us. A couple listeners are texting in wondering how many of these hours and hours of wasted time at work include porno. They don't mention specifically, but of course, you got to factor in porno movies, unless you're straighter than a Grizzlies D like my guy Cubby over here.
And by the way, just along those lines, I do realize I mentioned that I wanted to watch a climax with my son. I didn't mean it in the dirty way. I did not mean it in the dirty way.
So there you go.
The one thing that I hated that tracked your time was when video games started tracking your time of how long you've played the video game.
Made you sick to your stomach, didn't it?
Oh, boy. Assassin's Creed has taken over like 3 full weeks.
You would
of my
stare
life.
at. Well, how does it do this? You turn on the video game and it says you have played this many. I've never seen this.
Yeah, so like when you log into the game, it'll say right in the corner, it'll say how many hours you've been playing.
Oh.
And then Assassin's Creed would track it when you've just been playing that game.
Well,
And
that's
so-
not as bad as Nintendo when they shame you. If you're playing your Switch or your DS for a while, a little message will pop up. Hey, you've been playing a while. Maybe you should take a break.
Yeah, I remember the first time that
Is that what it
happened to me.
says?
It made me feel really bad about myself.
I know. I was just like, oh.
And it
Because
wasn't
Nintendo's geared towards kids.
At least
It wasn't even
Netflix
that
is a little.
long either.
At least Netflix is a little more subtle, where they're like, "Are you still watching?"
Yeah.
But you know what they're saying is, "Are you still watching?" I get emails every week from my son's Xbox saying, "Here's how much he played." You know, this day, that day, whatever.
Man,
kind of
glad
meshes
that
it
wasn't
up.
a thing when I was a kid.
Yeah, seriously.
So
Your
what
phone
do you
will do that too. Hey,
What-
you used your phone this long last week, up 30% from the previous week
Yeah.
or whatever.
I intentionally don't look at that.
So you get a message from Xbox that'll let you know how long your kid sits there and plays his video games. Have you seen any numbers yet that are concerning?
Well, in the summer, there was one day he had like an 8-hour day, and I know that's amateur to some of the.
Oh, yeah, that's amateur. We need to bump those numbers up.
Yeah, he had a day where none of his buddies were around, so he sat there and just played online with them, like Fortnite or something.
So back to this report. Young people can't stop playing with their phones, and companies are concerned because it's costing them 10 days a year of actual work, and it's costing them some money too. And it has some, actual dollar amounts in here. I don't feel the need to get into that because, You'd have to have a lot of other factors, a lot of other information to really know how impactful. Right here it says something like $8,000 worth. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not able to put two and two together and determine how much that really matters. But young people, about 10 days a year of wasted time because they're playing with their phones. Now, the older you are, the less monies you're stealing from your company by sitting there, jagging it to your cell phone. No real surprise. It's an addiction, especially for the younger people. Leaking the payroll.
Well,
old friend of my family's nickname is Leaky.
For that reason.
Yeah, when I was a little kid, I thought that was so funny because I thought it was a reference that the guy, peed his pants once or twice, right? Leaky. And
I could have garnered that nickname, but only through about 8th grade.
Yeah, you were a bedwetter.
And a pant wetter.
Pant wetter. And then one day, when I got a little older, I think I made a joke about Leaky, like a pant wetting joke, and nobody laughed. And my dad had to pull me aside and say, that's not why we call him Leaky. And I said, well, why do you call him Leaky? Because he's a leak in the payroll.
We've discussed this before, but in our company handbook, it says if you talk about anything unrelated to work, that is theft of company time.
We are all screwed.
Okay, I just looked it up on my PlayStation app. This is absolutely insane.
What are we looking at now?
I looked at my PlayStation app so I could look at some games and how many hours I've played them.
All right.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla, 484 hours.
And how long?
That's over a year. So that's 20 full days. And then Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Someone check his arithmetic. We don't want to do this again.
How many hours was it, Wapple? 484.
And then Assassin's Creed Odyssey, 472.
Okay, so
Dang, dude.
You even got a dang dude from Ashland.
Oh man!
But kind of like
that's only 2 video games too.
The reason why the reason why I didn't read the total dollar amounts that are supposedly being stolen from these companies is I need a bigger picture to understand the impact. So that's around $900. $900. That's around 900 hours of video games.
Yeah.
That you played in a year.
Yeah.
So can someone paint a bigger picture for me?
Yeah. So in the study they said they based it on like $35 an hour. They said like an average maybe in the country would be $35 an hour. So they timed that by the hours wasted. So Wapple, if that was the case, let's say you played that at work, you wasted $31,500. If we do 900 times 35.
Okay, so you still
That's
play.
How you could get paid for playing video games.
You play a lot of video games still to this day.
Yep. Yeah,
and that's just 2, but those must be the 2 that you're most frequent with.
I think I started the Mass Effect trilogy probably a month ago, and I already have 72 hours on it.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Jeez.
Yeah, if it makes you happy, who cares?
Yeah.
So, Dana, it sounded like you were about ready to put that into days, 900 hours?
It's a little under 40 days.
37 and a half days.
So in a year, you've...
Yeah, well, I think those 2 games probably stretch between like 3 years. 4 years.
If it makes you feel better, Wapple, a lot of people are saying that is absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's someone that has 5,000 hours in a video game.
Are they a professional?
I'm assuming not. They probably would have said that. 3,600, 4,000.
That's, I wish I could understand that better, but it certainly sounds like a lot. I can take that away from it. That sounds like a lot of time.
Yeah, it
sitting
is.
in front of your television or on your cell phone or however the hell you play video games these days. Well, you're not doing it at work. None of us are that type. Really? Are we? Am I missing?
Not at all.
It's hard to really do anything else.
We're not here for a terribly long amount of time. The real work begins when we get home. Well, at least Josh and I can say that.
Jeez. That guy who played 5,000 hours on a game, that's 208 days.
Well, then he must be doing it for a living.
Yeah, you have to be.
Or is he 12 years old and was thrown out of school?
Or maybe just all his free time goes to video games.
Jesus balls. All right. You junkies. That's what you are, Wapple. You're a damn junkie.
Yeah, I would be interested to see, like, the total gameplay, like, from every single game, every hour. That would be interesting.
You don't want to know.
Oh, I logged so many hours back in the day on Sims, obviously, Roller Coaster Tycoon,
Heck yeah.
Earthworm Jim.
Which is the video game, of all the video games you're enthusiastic about, which one has been the most difficult to play while crying?
Ooh, probably The Sims.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you make like a girlfriend or something like that, and then they break up with you, and then you have to kill them.
But have you ever been sitting there for so long in front of your video games that suddenly it dawns on you how long you've been there and you begin to cry, but yet you can't stop playing?
I don't cry, but my butt hurts.
Oh God.
Ashley's cried playing a video game
Oh, yeah.
from just a sad thing that happened.
Plenty of times.
You told us, so was it Red Dead Redemption or Red Dead Redemption 2 where you
Red
bawled?
Dead Redemption 2, but she was more or less pissed at our coworker who gave up the ending.
That was messed up.
He's spoiled. I've never seen you so upset.
Yep.
Why would you do that? That's what I don't understand. I don't understand why he would do that. That's I gotta hit him with a bat because of that.
That's right. You hit him right in the tummy with the bat, didn't you?
That felt good.
Yeah. R.I.P. Morgan.
All right. Before we get out of here today, we'll hook somebody up with Kevin Hart concert tickets. It's been a hot kind of an operation, hasn't it, Josh?
Yeah, wow. I mean, I knew the guy was popular, but that's crazy how quick he sold out.
Listen to this text message we received from Mediocre Machinist Jesus. Kevin Hart should put this on a T-shirt. Or, when you maybe see an ad for a movie or maybe a stand-up comic, and they'll flash those little comments on the screen. The New York Times says it's unbelievable. The Inquirer says best show of the year, right? Kevin Hart should think about putting this in an ad. Mediocre Machinist Jesus texted us, and it says, I love Kevin Hart as an actor. I find myself quite often looking for movies to watch with him in them.
Just that whole page. Yeah. That'd be a great T-shirt, dude. I'd buy something like that.
Hang on a second. I almost started to cry reading that last line. I find myself quite often looking for movies to watch with him in them.
Oh, nice.
We'll get going again. Stupid news coming up in a while. We'll be back in a few minutes on the Half-Assed Morning Show.
Half-Assed Morning Show.
They're loud, they lose control, they do their little circus act, they're a nuisance.
93X.
Our technicians are geared up and ready to make sure your system is running reliably this winter. Regular maintenance from Standard Heating and Air Conditioning helps prevent costlier breakdowns in the future, and we know they always happen at the worst time.
Hey, Ashley here. Get your home ready for winter. Schedule your furnace tune-up with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning and save $30. Have a boiler? Save $40 on your boiler tune-up. Visit standardheating.com to book and lock in your savings. Stay cozy, stay ready.
You met Lala Kent on Vanderpump Rules. Now Lala and her friends share everything on Give Them Lala.
Baby S is giving me money-making moves in the room.
Yeah. So I'm going to have one kid who's like, I want to just live in a box and do like artistic dancing and paint. Ocean's going to be like, it doesn't matter if I'm broke, Mom. I'm passionate about it. And Baby S is going to be the one that says, passion doesn't pay bills, Ocean.
Watch what Lala is talking about on YouTube or search for Give Them Lala wherever you listen.
Stupid news on the Half-Assed Morning Show.
Sorry, I had to take my stocking cap off and take off my choppers.
Right.
I've got my ice fishing outfit on. It's insane cold in here.
I hate this place. Nothing works here, and it's always so cold. Here we go with the stupid news. What happened?
I was going to say, I would think about hooking up a space heater in here, but I think that would cause the entire building to short circuit.
You don't even need that. Just have that board catch on fire again. That'll keep you nice and toasty.
I got myself one of those space heaters. I do. I run it down in the basement. What time is it? It's 6:23. It's time to belly flop straight into this stupid news report. Fans of the good old Club Saratoga up there in Duluth are going to cry. They're going to cry gimmick infringement on this one. It's a story of a taxidermist lady down there in Texas who takes dead frozen rats and turns them into, quote, sexy showgirls. And then she puts them on display at her shop. For as long as I can remember, Club Saratoga, up there in the Windy City, Duluth, they've featured, of course, wonderfully fully nude ladies dancing around the club, but also they have, or had, it's been a while, someone can text me and tell me, they have that hilarious display case with the effing dead squirrels made up to be bar characters. What a cute gimmick that is. First time I watched in there doesn't make any sense. The first time I walked in there, of course I'm looking at the girls, but once someone showed me the rats with the beers in their hands, the display sitting at the little mini bar, I found myself paying more attention to that than I did the ladies. Love that gimmick. I'm not trying to start trouble or anything here. There's nothing wrong with having two places on planet Earth who use dead rodents as decoration. This is probably just the liquor talking. But it made me think of Saratoga. So again, here's this lady, a taxidermist. She takes dead, frozen rats and turns them into sexy showgirls. Caitlin Hillis is her name. She's 36 years old by now. She runs a joint called Showtime Taxidermy. She sells, quote, quirky and bizarre type items, like the dead rats. And they're dressed up as sexy dancers. I gotta say, she does do a great job because there's gotta be very few things on earth as ugly as a dead rat. And she makes them look awful pretty, doesn't she, Josh?
Yeah, not just, but cute. Yeah, it's cute. She figured out a way to make them a work of art.
If you want to see them, they're up on 93x.com, too.
Because a dead rat, man, that's an ugly thing to see. So she sets them up in her shop. She also sells the dead rats online and at, wacky expos and such around the country. She tours all around the country. What's her name again? What did I say her name was? Caitlin Hillis. She says it feels really cool to be weird and have so many people enjoy it. And it is kind of weird.
She definitely found her niche.
Yeah.
She buys the rats frozen from what they call here, an ethical local breeder. I imagine, Josh, this is just a guess, if this lady's not making up dead rats to be strippers with nipple pasties on, these dead rats are probably just fed to snakes or something.
That's what I would think.
I like her booth. Her booth is like, something you'd see at the state fair grandstands.
You like her booth?
Yeah, like where she goes around the country and sells them.
Oh, she's got it all set up.
Oh, you saw a picture of her out on the road at an... Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's very flashy. It kind of looks like a circus tent almost.
Yeah, and then there's just dead rats hanging everywhere.
I like her boobs.
Creepy.
That's what I thought Wapple was going with at first.
So did I. I thought for sure you were going to say boobs.
I like her boobs.
It's a hell of a process, I bet, to turn a dead, frozen rat into something pretty. She poses them as acrobats or burlesque performers or belly dancers. So she adds things like colored feathers and rhinestones and velvet. And these are all things you can find on Josh's counter in his bathroom. All of these items. If you go to Josh's place and you go into his bathroom, you can find all of these items kind of spread out by the sink. Colored feathers, rhinestones, velvet, fake eyelashes. Right? I've seen that in your house, Josh. She even makes her own signature nipple coverings for the rats.
It's the best part.
Check them out. You said they're up on our website?
Yes.
Jesus. She's having a good time, making a few bucks. She's her own boss.
They're not cheap, but it might be kind of fun to have.
Oh, I didn't write down what she wants for them.
$185.
Wow.
Per rat.
That's a lot, but she puts a lot of time into them.
Because I'd want to do, I was trying to think, what would I get? I think I'd like her to recreate the metal band Ratt's Dancing Undercover album. Just each person there. One of them is smoking a cigarette. The Stephen Piercy Ratt, he's got a cigarette in his hand.
Man, that'd be cool. A lot of you don't even know the Dancing Undercover record, 1986.
I'd want her to pose the faces, everything, just, the positioning of the faces, everything.
Were you about ready to cause us to dance?
I had the whole album loaded up because I wanted to listen to it.
I heard it kind of pop there for a second.
But I forgot this. I got a little weird way to put it up through the board, and I forgot it was up there.
Dancing Undercover. I saw Ratt on that tour December 28th, 1986. Opening band, Josh, who was he? Take a guess who the opening band was for Ratt on their Dancing Undercover show here at Met Center, December 28th, 1986.
Boy, I have no idea. Pretty Boy Floyd.
No.
Was it a bigger band?
Much bigger than Pretty Boy Floyd, and more of a 70s act, really. It was kind of a surprise opener. I'll give you a hint. Mommy's all right, Daddy's all right. They're both just a little weird.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
Cheap Trick?
Robin Zander, Bun E. Carlos, Rick Nielsen, and Tom Peterson. F me running Cheap Trick.
With Ratt?
Yes!
I would not have pictured that.
Neither did I until I got there. Effing Australians, it's always a problem with them. Here's the deal. A derelict kidnapped a popular chicken. A chicken by the name of Betty White.
Cute.
And you're probably saying, when you're done saying cute, you're probably saying, popular chicken, popular with who? And that's a fair question. The chicken was a popular attraction at a wildlife park over there in Scilly, Australia.
Sometimes you'll see a news story about, Ashley, where do you live? Coon Rapids?
Yeah.
There's a Coon Rapids turkey. That's
Come on, where do you really live?
Shut up.
Go ahead.
There's a Coon Rapids turkey, and everyone loves it, and his name is Knickerbocker, or whatever they say. Have you guys ever lived someplace like that where there was a popular animal? Like, we've got one in our neighborhood. It's an albino squirrel, and he likes to kind of visit all the different houses.
I can't think of a neighborhood critter or anything that had that level of popularity. No.
Where nobody says, like in our neighborhood, they'll say, yeah, spotted it over here at the Johnson's place or something like that.
No.
Yeah, when I lived in Northeast, we had the Northeast turkeys that would always walk by.
What was that?
Were they jive turkeys?
They were massive. There was like 5 of them.
What was that raccoon that climbed a building in Minneapolis?
Oh, it was in St. Paul.
Oh, it was St. Paul?
Yeah, it was like the NPR building or something.
Yeah, that thing went like worldwide.
Yeah, that was on CNN and everything.
So here's how I believe this played out. There's this wildlife park in Australia, and they got all kinds of animals over here and over there, including Betty White the chicken, who is very popular with folks who stop by the wildlife park. Some derelict bastard snatched her up out of her pen and then fed her to an alligator.
No.
Just like how the real Betty White died.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I believe the alligator also lived at the same wildlife park. Peter Smith is the name of this derelict. He's now been charged with aggravated animal cruelty. He might be going off to Australian prison for this. According to the story, this Smith guy picked Betty White up out of her enclosure, hid her inside his shirt. That's like straight out of a friggin' sitcom. Took Betty White to the alligator enclosure and tossed it into the gator's yap. And the gator happily killed her dead
That's bogus.
and swallowed her down. I'm sorry?
I said that's bogus.
Bogus. So this has gone to court. The people who run this wildlife center are very upset. Very upset. The dude's defense lawyer, we'll be talking to one later this morning. Ryan Pacyga is going to come on in. This dude, Peter Smith, who snatched up Betty White, who was probably thinking, yay,
For a ride.
a little stroll outside of my enclosure. A nice fella. Thanks for picking me up. I could have used a... This Peter Smith, his defense lawyer, of course, his job is to downplay the cruelty involved in what this man did. The lawyer said that Mr. Smith, quote, just wanted to feed an alligator. He just wanted to feed an alligator. Like it was a Make-A-Wish thing or something. He just wanted to feed an alligator. And the lawyer also said that Mr. Smith can't be all that bad because he made the alligator happy by giving it something or another to eat. That didn't fly. And I'm not trying to be cute with that by saying fly. The wildlife park went on and on about how much Betty White meant to everyone over there. It was a heartbreaking deal, Cubby.
Yeah.
It really was.
If people go to see her, they'd be pretty upset.
Imagine a 5-year-old kid watching that play out.
Oh, seeing just the demise of a beloved chicken. Ashley, what would you do if something happened to that pygmy hippo Mudang over there in Thailand?
Oh, I'd get very violent. I love that hippo so much.
Everybody does.
Oh,
Who are we talking about?
Remember that
Mudang.
baby hippo, Mudang?
Mudang the baby hippo.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
oh gosh, so sassy.
Oh, he died.
No, shut up. No.
Alligator got him.
No, he was run over by a monkey on a moped.
I think it's a girl. And no, she's fine. I follow all the update accounts.
Mudang is dead.
She's chilling.
I do remember when I was a kid at the Minnesota Zoo. I wasn't there for it, but it was talked about. A flamingo flew into the Komodo dragon's pen,
Oh, that would have been crazy to watch.
and that penguin, or that not penguin, excuse me, flamingo didn't fare too well.
Oh my gosh, I've always wanted to see them attack.
You've wanted to see a flamingo get attacked?
No, I've wanted to see a Komodo dragon attack.
Oh.
Yeah,
Attack something.
Aren't they fast?
I have no idea.
They're like one of the deadly. Aren't they the deadliest animal? Something
thought
like
so.
that, because their poisonous tongue.
All right, Josh was wondering if you ever lived in a neighborhood that kind of had a famous critter or an infamous animal that everybody knew. Hey, it's Pee-Pee the parrot, and he flies from house to house and watches your wife shower. Whatever, Here is someone from Ramsey, and he said there was a animal everybody knew in Ramsey, Tripod the three-legged deer. I'm racking my brain. I can't think that I've ever been in or ever experienced that, unless I'm forgetting something.
Built like a house, hung like a mouse, Jesus said in Pine City, there's a family of white squirrels that's super famous. Anybody familiar with that?
To know
No.
a family, that's rare. I think.
Apparently, someone said, Google the turkey in South Minneapolis from last year.
I just did.
Oh, what'd you find?
There's a turkey in South Minneapolis.
He just lingers.
Have they
lives
given
down
it a name or
That's
anything?
solid
looks
research
like
right there.
Kenneth. Kenneth is his name.
Kenneth. Oh, good name.
What's the frequency, Kenneth?
I was just reading a story about that. Something about that album came out today, or that song got big. I got to look that up.
Ooh, I'm sorry. I was bringing up the actual news story where Dan Rather got his ass kicked. I really never intended to have a conversation about REM.
Yeah, there was something.
I've never in my life intended to have a conversation about REM, so I apologize for that. If anybody went straight to the song as opposed to the story itself, I apologize.
Yeah, weird. So it was on this day in '86. Dan Rather was attacked on the street and beaten by a guy who yelled, "Kenneth, what's the frequency?"
Ah! Still one of the strangest stories ever. I can't shake that one.
Dan Rather performed "What's the Frequency, Kenneth," the song, with REM on David Letterman.
I'm sorry to hear that. How we doing with that distracted driving lately? Are we coming around on that?
If I remember right, the last time they released statistics on it, it seemed like it was still pretty bad.
Didn't you just tell us some things a few days ago about driving?
Yeah, a week or two ago, there was more speeding, but then they released one yesterday about seatbelt use, and they're encouraged that more people are wearing those.
So people are still fingering their phones while going 75 miles per hour down the highway?
I still see it all the time.
I hate seeing that.
They say it's a young person's game, but I see people of all ages doing it.
I often think when I see those people texting and driving, I say, where's a Komodo dragon when you need one? When you need one the worst, where is there a Komodo for this hoe? That's what I say.
One good eye, Jesus loves this about you, Ashley, that you can go from loving that hippo to immediately saying cool when hearing about a flamingo getting attacked and killed by a Komodo dragon.
I have range. Flamingos don't do much for me.
Here's a guy in flippin' Oregon. He's struggling with the whole bit. You know, with the idea of putting down the phone, paying attention to the road. We just get pumped with warnings, about distracted driving. Some of you just can't come around. This guy admitted to the cops that he was eating chicken and talking on his cellular telephone, and then he crashed his car into an apartment building.
Wow.
Nice work, kid.
Yeah, eating chicken, dangerous. Your hands get all greasy and slippery.
Didn't you once eat soup in the car, Ashley?
Yes.
Range. She has range.
Nothing like that'll get my fingers all gross. So,
Okay, there's really that big of a difference there?
Definitely, because I was.
Yeah.
It's not like I was using a spoon. I was just drinking it like you would like a cup of coffee.
I ate a Subway sandwich behind the wheel once, and it was a manual transmission, and I run that sandwich right through the garden. So there's a lot of stuff on there. I'll never do that again.
That's a lot of shrapnel.
That was messy.
Oh, I bet that was.
So eating chicken, talking on his telephone, and then kabam, he crashes his car into an apartment building. Cops showed up to the scene of the crash, and the first thing they saw was a Toyota Prius that had penetrated the building. And that Prius was jammed into an occupied apartment bedroom. Luckily, whoever was in that apartment bedroom wasn't killed dead. But I'll be damned, I bet it scared the ever-loving hell out of him. The driver also showed signs of alcohol and drug impairment. Oh, well, that's exactly what we wanted to hear.
Yeah, doesn't help. Smart-ass firefighter Jesus said he saw a lady texting and driving the other day that pissed him off so much he threw his beer can right at her.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when you could text T9? That was so cool.
What?
The old school, just button texting?
Yeah, button texting. I was so good at that, you didn't even need to look at the screen.
Yep.
I was pretty good at that myself.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what T9 means, but I certainly had the ability and the skill set to text without looking at my phone. For Christ's sake, yeah, I remember one drive I made up to Brainerd. I mean, I barely remember anything about it.
All of a sudden, you're in Brainerd.
I was 100.
How did I get here?
I was 100% distracted the entire way from Wayzata to Brainerd. Remember the story, Josh, I told you about when, Christ almighty, I'm guilty, at least I was, of being a distracted driver. I stopped many years ago because I scared myself a few times, like I just told you. I don't recall any move that I made between here and Brainerd because the entire time I was focused on texting. The other was, Josh, I don't know if you remember this story. I believe this was my first wedding. Someone videotaped the wedding. And so my ex-wife and I are in the cab of my car driving home from Glenwood, Minnesota, back to the cities after we got married. And she had the camera where you know those cameras where you could open it up and there'd be a screen and you could watch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we watched our wedding ceremony and the reception all the way from Glenwood to the cities. And at one point, I passed a motor vehicle and had no memory of it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you're like, wait, where did that one come from, or where did it go?
Suddenly, the car that was in front of me was behind me, and I had no memory of making that move.
Did you look to see if they were on fire in a ditch somewhere with some paint transfer?
I should have been more clear. On a 2-lane highway. Past them. Suddenly,
that's different.
I'm
Holy
sorry.
crap.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
And I said to the ex-wife, I said, wasn't that guy in front of me a minute ago?
Hopefully.
And she said, you passed him. I said, I did? I mean, that's just terrible. Yeah. Terrible. But I used to be that guy.
Clock-sucking Jesus said he ate a foot-long Subway sandwich while riding a motorcycle.
Oh, come on.
What are you doing?
You should go pro.
Yeah. Ashley, you're doing it again.
What?
You're asking him what he was doing. You ate a bowl of soup while driving.
It's like drinking a cup of coffee. That's a little different than driving a motorcycle.
It's distracted driving. You're only going to get better when you admit that you're part of the problem. This guy, 41-year-old guy, he was arrested. The guy who crashed into the apartment, in his Toyota Prius. What are some of the lines from the other guys when Don Wahlberg realizes he's riding in a Toyota Prius with Will Ferrell? He says something about a training bra.
Yeah,
can't remember. There's some great lines in that movie. What are you going shopping for a training bra? I'm sorry, I blew up.
I'm looking him up.
Remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up too.
The friggin' English. Man, they come up with the dumbest effing ideas. Here's an example of that. Folks in an English village called Rochdale, they're freaking the hell out. A day or two ago, someone propped up a giant 27-foot-tall baby doll in the town square. Has everyone seen the baby doll?
Yeah, it's very creepy. It's on 93x.com.
Very Squid Game, I thought.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
A day or two ago, someone propped up a giant 27-foot-tall baby doll in the town square. It looks just like the cliche, creepy baby dolls that they try to scare you with in horror movies. Only, like I said, this bastard is 27 foot tall. And even as weird as the English are, this has given some of them the straight-up creeps, just the sight of it. The giant baby doll goes by the name of Lily. She has movable limbs. Her yap opens and closes. In a video posted to the city's Facebook page, a group of school children can be seen singing "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star" to the giant baby. It sounds kind of creepy right from the get-go.
Yeah, I don't really understand why.
2 of the 3 children have gone missing since that video was taken.
No.
Now, here's where the weirdness of the English people really shows itself. The idea behind a 27-foot naked baby doll being set up in town is part of a new campaign encouraging school children to talk about the importance of the environment? What? How does that make sense to anyone? So apparently different little groups of kids walk on over to the town square, and they're encouraged to talk to Lily, the giant naked baby doll, about how they plan to help animals and nature in the future. Okay, I get what you're trying to do for the kids there, but why are they talking to a giant baby? How about an inflatable, Josh, how about an inflatable endangered owl or something? Nobody thought of that?
That makes more sense.
The young people in town don't seem to be spooked by the doll, but some of the grown folks, they won't come near the damn thing. One local compared the doll to something out of the 1990 sci-fi comedy called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids Down to Damn Near Nothing. Did you guys see that one?
Yeah. I like that movie. I wonder, the porcelain doll thing, creepy, right? My grandma had a bunch of those. But I wonder, did movies ruin them for me, or would I have thought they were creepy before a movie?
I thought they were creepy before I saw them in a movie.
Yeah, I always thought they were really creepy.
They do look like they're thinking something about you.
Yeah.
And their eyes follow you.
They do. Couple quotes from the other guys about the Prius. Here's one. I feel like we're literally driving around in a vagina.
Yeah.
My Suburban crapped one of these out yesterday. Did this thing come with a dental dam?
Yeah. Where's the training bra line?
Let's see. I don't see that one in here. We found your stolen Prius. This is from Radio Dispatch. We found your stolen Prius. It was voting for Ralph Nader.
I don't know what that means.
But
I like the vibe behind it, whatever that means.
Also, he's talking about Little River Band when he says the training bra.
Oh, yeah.
He said, this music makes me feel like I'm going shopping for a training bra.
God, that's good stuff. That is good stuff. Although I took a little bit of offense to that. I am a fan of LRB. When they come at you with cool change, Josh, there's not a lot you can compare that to.
You went to that show recently.
I always go see Little River Band at Medina Ballroom. I'm sure they'll be here in about a month. They always come to town near Thanksgiving. Me and Wang always go see LRB because we're metal.
I'm going to look up their schedule.
Other folks said that here you go, Josh. Other folks said that the giant naked baby doll reminded them of the animatronic puppet that oversees the deadly red light, green light game in the television show Squid Game. Never saw it.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind for me.
Same here.
So the plans are to feed a different child to the giant devil baby every day through Halloween.
That's good.
Because that pleases the devil doll, Josh. And it promises not to destroy the town if it's fed a school kid every day.
Little River Band.
Yeah.
With special guest, the 70s Magic Sunshine Band.
Ard.
Saturday, November 9th at Medina.
They've been doing it for I'd say over 25 years, is my guess. And some of you West Metro people could straighten me out. They've been playing a show at Medina Ballroom right around Thanksgiving for I don't know how many years. I'm going to say 25.
How do you feel about the Oak Ridge Boys?
Well, I feel great about them, except, dude died recently.
Yeah, they're coming to town about a week later.
It's nice that they're keeping it going. They got to be down to only maybe one original. They're not kids anymore. The friggin' how do you say it again? Oak Ridge Boys. All right, one more here. We got to get the hell out of the way. Grown folks acting like this. Effing grown folks. 2 nerd burglars were busted this week in Tennessee for allegedly robbing a comic book store. The 2 of them, disguised by Halloween masks, by the way, they snatched thousands of dollars worth of those Magic the Gathering trading cards.
Those can be spendy.
They can.
Yep.
Now, I usually ignore the cheesy jokes and the silly puns that are written right into these types of stories. Most of them are so bad I can't stand it, but I might read 1 or 2 here or there because my beautiful life partner, Josh, over there, he likes those type of jokes. He does. So this one's for you, Cubby. Again, 2 grown, damned adults busted their way into a comic book store and stole Magic the Gathering trading cards. The provided joke in the story says, they turned to the dork side.
They did, didn't they? I saw a father and son. There was just an article today about this father and son who are making news for having the largest Doctor Who collection.
Doctor Who.
Like no offense to Doctor Who, but these two, the dad looks like a hobbit, right? And the son, that's their thing together. They collect memorabilia of the show Doctor Who.
How do you get into that?
I don't know, but when I was a little kid, I'll tell you something. You guys know the story of my background and Cubby's background. We came from garbage. And one of the real thrills of spending the night at a friend's place was, oh my God, they might actually have not only cable television, but a color television. And they usually did. I grew up in Wayzata. I had a lot of rich friends. Color television, cable television, snacks of any sort. You've heard us tell these stories before.
And name brand ones too, right?
At my folks' place, there were times, because we didn't have cable, there were times there was nothing on And I was forced to turn to Channel 2 and watch Doctor Who. I didn't want to do it, but there's nothing else. Okay, fine, for Christ's sake, I'll see if I can get involved in Doctor Who. I hated it. It was stupid, but sometimes it's all I had. I'll never forget when I made one of these trips over to my rich buddy's place, and they had the color television and the cable television, and they had all the snacks. And this buddy of mine, we were probably in 3rd grade, turns to me and says, "Hey, you want to watch Doctor Who?" And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, "I can get that at home. I came here to escape that. What do you mean, do you want to watch Doctor Who? No, you've got cable. Let's watch MTV. What's wrong with you?" I didn't hang out with that kid much after that.
I never watched it. I a couple of friends that were really into it. It was a big show for a while there.
No, I don't want to watch Doctor Who. Look at where we are. Right, Josh? I mean, look at you got all this house to play with. You got all these wonderful amenities. You want to sit here and watch Doctor Who like you're broke, like me?
Here's another line about the Prius from the other guys, according to the Brotherhood. "I didn't know they put tampons on wheels."
That's so good.
All right, back to these guys who stole these friggin' cards. We got to get the hell out of the way here. This is their gimmick, these two guys. They've been robbing comic book stores all over Tennessee for these friggin' cards. And they made off with near $8,000 worth of the Magic the Gathering cards with their last caper. Surveillance video busted them. Well, actually, the cops pulled the guys over shortly after they swiped $8,000 worth of these cards. The cops pulled them over because they were swerving all over the road. And I imagine, what were they doing? Maybe fighting over the more expensive cards? Yep. But also surveillance video got them. Remember I mentioned they were wearing Halloween masks. One of the dudes was wearing a nun mask and habit, like some of you might have seen in the enjoyable, although brutally poorly acted movie called The Town. Is any of the rest of you put up with Ben Affleck and that little short blonde guy and their
Jeremy
terrible?
Renner?
Oh my God, are they awful in that movie? It's an enjoyable movie, don't get me wrong. Some cool chase scenes and gunfights. Mm-hmm. But Ben Affleck and what's the guy's name?
Jeremy Renner.
They are almost unmistakably and unforgivably bad in that movie.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Oh, they're so bad. Anyway, the other guy was wearing a Michael Myers mask. And this is their thing. This is what they do. And one of them, you know, some of you might label this as kind of a dorky crime, right? They're stealing little trading cards from a fantasy game. One of them sounds like he was born a dork. One of them is named Philip Clodfelter.
Oh, no.
He's 42 years old. The other one, 64 years old, acting like this.
Oh, dude.
You can't make this stuff up, Wapple.
That's kind of impressive that he's 64 and knows, like, what cards to steal. You know which ones are going to get the most money.
You guys want to come over and watch Doctor Who?
Well, don't you think they'll just take them all? Yeah. They're probably not rifling through them while they're sitting there.
No, we already have 2 of that one. We don't need a third.
It takes them like 3 hours.
Sad Packer fan Jesus said, wearing my Doctor Who shirt as you speak. Well, I never.
They're out there.
Sports on the 93X Half-Assed Morning Show.
Initially, it's always going to be a shock. But for me, afterwards, I woke up the next morning and I was just really, really excited. It was a breath of fresh air. I'm excited to bring everything that I learned here. I want to help. And I want to help Rudy, Nas, all those guys. I want to help win a championship. So that's the only thing that matters.
All right, I don't want to take up too much of your time here because Josh works his ass off on his news report. And if I don't give him enough time, he gets really pissed off there.
Oh, man, I've broken some things.
He gets really pissed off. But I watched that full interview yesterday where the Timberwolves brought out that Tim Connolly hotshot, the guy that's always swinging all these deals for that ball club. Mm-hmm. And they brought out Dante DiVincenzo, and they brought out Julius Randle. That's who you heard right there. And they brought out Keita Bates-Diop, who's coming back to play for the Timberwolves. And I sure liked the way those guys came off. I did. It got me pumped, Josh. You know what it got me?
What?
It got me psyched.
Were you totally psyched?
Yeah. I
knew
Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo were nice guys. I knew Keita Bates-Diop already. But I knew they were nice enough guys. I liked a lot of what they had to say.
They seemed genuine, didn't they?
Genuinely nice guys.
I was
guys
pleased.
you want to root for. You were relieved?
I was pleased.
You were pleased.
Very pleased.
By the circumstances behind that conversation.
That's correct.
You're cute as a button. I'll tell you that right now. Julius Randle is going to whoop ass in this town.
I wish I sounded that cool, you know?
You do.
You just, no.
Yeah, you do.
That's a cool sound.
Especially when you say things like wiener and pee-pee.
Oh, good, because I got that coming up.
Coming up in the news, you're probably going to talk wieners. A lot of folks have been texting in about last night's football game. Never saw it. But apparently that douchebag Cousins guy had a great game.
Oh, yeah, he went off.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold, I'm just going to ignore that. Sam Darnold is the NFC Offensive Player of the Month. He's the quarterback that the Vikes have now in town. Have you guys seen him?
Yeah. I've seen him a couple times. Yep.
Huh?
Josh's son didn't believe in him.
Yep.
No, I made him apologize. I paused the screen. Sam Darnold was right there, and I made him apologize to him. I might have to have him write a little letter of apology.
NFC Offensive Player of the Month, Sam Darnold.
That's great.
Kirk Cousins might have done good last night, but I'm still, every time I watch him play, I'm thankful we don't have him anymore.
I like when you talk dirty, Ashley. I do. Hey, speaking of you, Ashley.
Yeah.
I read yesterday that local hero here in town, Suni Lee, Olympic gold medalist. Every time she goes to those Olympics, she comes back with a bucket of gold medals, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was among those named Woman of the Year by Glamour magazine.
That's awesome.
And it made me think of you, Ashley, because you got to have a damn attitude adjustment if you got any shot at this someday.
Of being Woman of the Year?
Yes, in Glamour magazine. You got to work on your attitude, I think.
Oh, yeah, and a lot of other things, too.
Clean up some things from your past. Try to sweep those under the rug, maybe.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Wisconsin, and you'll find out why in a half hour why I'm sarcastically thanking Wisconsin this morning. Randy Shaver, Brad Ryder, Who Dis, Purple Pick'em, all coming up at 7:30. Josh's News is next.
Half-assed morning show.
They're loud, they lose control, they do their little circus act. They're a nuisance.
93X.
Our technicians are geared up and ready to make sure your system is running reliably this winter. Regular maintenance from Standard Heating and Air Conditioning helps prevent costlier breakdowns in the future, and we know they always happen at the worst time.
Hey, Ashley here. Get your home ready for winter. Schedule your furnace tune-up with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning and save $30. Have a boiler? Save $40 on your boiler tune-up. Visit standardheating.com to book and lock in your savings. Stay cozy, stay ready.
Bingo. All right, Phil, we're recording now. And please put your phone on silent.
Oh, where is my phone?
Let's go, man. Okay. Get it together over there, player. Go ahead. Pick on me the way that you want to.
I wouldn't say that to my son.
Just go.
All right, why would people want to listen to the Sims Complete podcast?
A father-son dynamic duo talking about the game of football.
We do a lot of quarterback and coach talks. It's fun. I love doing this. It's been awesome.
Sims Complete. Check us out on the Believe Network. Appreciate it.
Just search Believe, B-L-E-A-V, wherever you listen.
Half-assed morning show. 93X.
Different colors from like an amber hue to like more of a healthy golden, lighter yellow, but some are really dark and concerning.
P. He's talking about P. Someone's been pissing off the rich in California and has now become Pasadena, California's #1 menace, putting the P in Pasadena. Every few days, a masked figure in latex gloves carries bottles of urine to an affluent neighborhood, carefully arranges them on a utility box, and then vanishes into the night. Known as the Pasadena Piss Bandit for the past 6 years, the well-hydrated pisscreant has left his mark on Pasadena with soda bottles, juice cartons, and even gallon jugs full of pee. Nobody knows his identity, and he taunts locals with notes and drawings scrawled on the bottles like human urine, crude drawn smiley faces, or even notes that say HIV positive.
Oh, no. Dude, it's horrible.
It sounds like the work of a crazy person.
Yeah, well, some people are saying he might be an artist. Yeah. But I think crazy person. The Piss Bandit sometimes strikes multiple times a week, with bottles appearing in the morning and then sometimes even disappearing by nightfall without anyone knowing where they went. It's been a tug-of-war between the neighborhood and this guy, a 36-year-old resident said. Another neighbor posted a handwritten note for the wee marauder. If I catch you leaving your piss here, I'll make you drink every last drop. You've been warned.
Now we're talking. Let's get him.
2 neighbors staked out the drop site, but their subject never showed. However, when they installed a game camera, footage showed the bandit's latex gloved hand placing the bottles one by one like candles on a cake, like a lemon cake or pecan pie. The bandit's next drop included a full 1-gallon jug with a drawing of a demonic face, and neighbors think that was a message. He's on the offensive, a neighbor said. He's toying with us. So far, the piss bandit is in the wind, and police have little to go on.
Well, as we all know from past stories in your news report, it could be worse, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could be a lot worse. And more impressive, by the way.
Yep.
A 34-year-old New Jersey man wanted a candle put out, so much so that he called 911 and made up an emergency to get the cops to respond.
A candle put out?
Yes. He wasn't happy that someone lit a scented candle. After visiting the local police department to complain about a lit indoor scented candle, Alfredo Gonzalez wasn't content to leave it at that, so he called 911, demanding fire and rescue come to his home so they could handle the so-called emergency. They said no. Then he made up mental health concerns about a person who lit the candle, attempting to get both fire and EMS to respond, but it didn't stop there. He continued to make 911 calls about unrelated parking complaints, further abusing the emergency line. Authorities reviewed all the call recordings and slapped him with charges for making a false public alarm and misusing the 911 system.
What the hell's the matter with this guy?
Well, they're going to have him get some mental health services himself.
Someone lit a candle in his home and he couldn't put it out. He refused to.
He just didn't try. He wanted the cops out there. He was upset. The local chief of police emphasized 911 is meant for real emergencies, not candle-induced tantrums. This level of misuse stresses an already overburdened emergency response system, potentially leading to serious consequences, he said. Gonzalez was arrested and taken to jail. An 18-year-old high schooler from New Jersey was arrested Tuesday after a camera he set up in a mall bathroom was found with footage of dozens of people using the restroom. A woman found the device while using a family restroom at JCPenney August 9th and then handed it over to authorities. Investigators found disturbing footage of unsuspecting victims recorded in several different bathrooms, including at least 2 that seemed to be private residences. The camera had about 35 videos of adult women exposed while using the restroom, even one video of a man and woman in the restroom together engaging in sexual acts.
Ooh.
One key piece of evidence was the result of how dumb the teen is. He caught himself on video setting up the JCPenney potty cam.
You moron.
The clip cracked the case and was crucial to his capture.
What an idiot.
Yeah. That happens so often in these stories.
I love that.
Well, we got clear video of you setting up the camera. It's refreshing to see some parents stepping up and holding both their kids and themselves accountable instead of freaking out or making excuses like we so often see today.
Parents probably did the right thing because if you don't stop them young, they can go pretty far with it.
I think the parents totally did the right thing by turning the kids in. You got to teach them young about what's right and what's wrong.
Parents of some unruly teens accused of participating in flash mob-style robberies at multiple Los Angeles area convenience stores decided to take matters into their own hands and turn their kids over to police. At least 3 parents have handed their children in after a string of summer robberies, with surveillance footage capturing groups of young men biking to the stores, forcing their way inside and causing chaos.
Your kid's out riding bikes all over town, running into stores, stealing stuff. You clearly don't have a handle on the situation. And so for many of these parents, they might worry that these kids are going to grow to get involved in bigger and greater crimes and actually do some real time in prison.
The LAPD said the so-called bicycle crew included about 20 to 40 juveniles. The suspects usually hit the stores in the evening, swiping merchandise, destroying property, and fleeing without paying.
There you go.
That's great, though. Parents
yes. Like you said,
put up with that.
So often people just turn a blind eye because their kid is just so friggin' wonderful. This is encouraging.
A 27-year-old Michigan man was arrested after punching a dog walker following a fight with his family. With emotions running high, he stormed out, and instead of taking a deep breath or going for a long walk to cool off, he did the exact opposite. He ran up to the first person he saw, started yelling, ripped the dog walker's shirt, and then punched the guy right in the head.
Oh. This guy had nothing to do with whatever had pissed this individual off?
Nothing at all.
Wrong place, wrong time.
He later admitted to police he was in a terrible mood and lost control and just took it out on the first person he saw.
Oh, well, for Christ's sake.
A 33-year-old hit-and-run suspect led cops on a chase down a Florida highway, a laughably slow 3-mile-an-hour chase, with at least 4 police cars trailing him at a snail's pace as their sirens wailed and the officers sighed. Kyle McNary was first spotted kicking a passenger out of his SUV, then slamming into another car and driving off.
Sticks are tangled in his front tire. Notify FHP and see if they can respond to assist with a pit. The vehicle's doing circles now through the intersection.
As cops signaled for him to pull over, he hit the gas, barely, and led police on a leisurely paced pursuit, which at times slowed to just 1 mile an hour.
This has got to be one of the slowest ones I've seen in my career, about 1 to 2, maybe 3 miles an hour.
He made several U-turns across the highway median, then got stuck in a ditch on the side of the road, but still refused to exit his vehicle. Cops were forced to break the windows of his SUV before arresting him. It wasn't immediately clear why he was driving so slowly.
Yeah, what the hell?
Love is in the air on the Colorado plains. But it's not Broncos fans, skiers, marijuana enthusiasts, hippies, or hikers spinning their web of desires. It's tarantula mating season, where male spiders scurry out of their burrows looking for spider sex, and hundreds of likely single arachnophiles flock to the small farming town of La Junta to watch the hairy, horny monsters emerge in droves.
Really, there's like a fan club that shows up and watches spiders have sex?
It's a whole festival called Tarantula Fest, where scientists and spider enthusiasts and families from around the world pile into buses as tarantulas begin to roam the dry, rolling plains in order to get some.
He has to fight to keep her deadly fangs at bay. Hooks on his front legs hold her aloft. Her venom could paralyze him and liquefy his insides. He's finally ready to mate.
Yeah, that would turn me on, too.
Man.
Male tarantulas spend 7 years getting ready to mate. Then, when they finally find a willing lady tarantula, the mating is quick, while the male tries to escape before becoming her meal.
There's no goodbye kiss for these two. The male knows his mate could still make a meal out of him.
Back in town, festival goers flaunted their tarantula-like traits in a hairy leg contest. A woman, by the way, claimed the title this year.
Nice.
And many paraded around in vintage cars with giant spiders on the hoods. The 1990 cult classic film Arachnophobia, which follows a small town overrun with spiders, screened downtown at the historic Fox Theater.
You said families.
Yep.
Can you imagine if this is the family vacation your folks dumped on you when you've been praying to go to Disney World all year round or something like that? You know what I'm saying?
It'd be pretty disappointing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. From the sex lives of spiders to the universe of Batman, Joker 2 with Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga's in theaters this week. Struggling with his dual identity, failed comedian Arthur Fleck meets the love of his life, Harley Quinn, while incarcerated at Arkham State Hospital. Also on the big screen this week, a new adventure fantasy starring Mel Gibson and Kevin James called Monster Summer. When a mysterious...
Are you making that up?
Nope.
Mel Gibson and Kevin James?
Yeah.
What?
It's kind of Goonies-ish. At least it appears that way.
Is this a cartoon?
No.
Did you fall for like one of those Saturday Night Live fake movie promos or something?
No, this is legit.
Holy balls, does that sound terrible?
Just from the actors?
Yes, the combination of actors. Maybe alone those guys. I mean, obviously alone, Mel Gibson can get some things done in a movie, but that combination makes me wonder if I've lost my mind.
When a mysterious force begins to disrupt their big summer fun, a group of friends team up with a retired police detective to embark on a monstrous adventure. And an aspiring actor undergoes a radical medical procedure to drastically transform his appearance, but his new dream face quickly turns into a nightmare in a different man. The rated-R thriller stars Bucky Barnes in the MCU, Sebastian Stan. Justin Peele's version of the popular Scare Tactics series premieres tonight on USA and Sci-Fi.
Scare Tactics.
Scare Tactics.
I've enjoyed the hell out of that now and again over the years.
I watched the first maybe 2 seasons of that.
I've never even seen it.
I think you'd like it. In a spin-off of the original, the hidden camera prank show once again puts unsuspecting people into their own scary movie. And available now, a new Prime Video original series revealing the on and off the ice lives of the league's top players in Face Off inside the NHL. Birthdays. Former Gopher player and Viking coach Tony Dungy will be 69 Sunday. Former Twins pitcher Kyle Loesch, 46 today.
Kyle Loesch. I would have bet you every dollar in my pocket that his name wasn't going to be mentioned out loud on this program today.
You would have lost a couple of bucks.
I would have.
And former Timberwolf Derrick Rose is a decade younger at 36.
Derrick Rose.
Best of luck to Two-Putt Jesus running the Twin Cities Marathon on Sunday. Happy birthday to Hardwater Hooligan Jesus from your favorite big sister, Hot Byron Mama Jesus. And the wife and kids text a happy birthday shout-out to Maple Lake Rules Jesus. And that's 93X News.
Randy Shaver.
You can see his nice big tentacles that are sticking out, and he's got a rigorous training program, and he loves his green leaves, so we feed him plenty of nice green leaves.
On the Half-Assed Morning Show.
45-yard line. Robinson is the back. That's fired. That's caught. And that is Hodge. And Hodge is going to take it to the end zone. A most improbable win for the Atlanta Falcons.
That ends up being 509 yards and 4 touchdowns for Cousins.
In a season that has featured the improbable, the impossible has happened. Sounds like I missed something last night.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty good performance.
Sounds like I missed something last night on Thursday Night Football. Good morning to the both of you, Randy Shaver and Brad Ryder. What's going on?
Good morning. Good morning.
You guys watched the football game last night? It sounds like Captain Death Rocks. He pulled something out of his...
I tuned into bits and pieces. Yeah, he looked pretty good.
We'll get to that. What were you saying, Randy Shaver?
I don't have Prime.
What? How do you get stuff delivered to your house?
Who doesn't have Amazon Prime? It's 2024.
Your wife basically supports that channel through all the shopping she does.
You all just need to settle down.
Yeah.
Randy's not from around here.
Do you have GameCube or anything like that? I mean,
nope. I don't have Prime.
Oh, okay, so you can't watch Thursday night.
Guess what? I'm just happy as hell.
You're all right with that.
I ain't mad at you, Randy. Well, yeah, we'll get to this stuff a little bit later. I guess it was very dramatic what happened last night.
I guess.
What's that?
I guess. I mean, I watched the whole game. I wasn't, blown away.
You weren't?
It was 500 and some yards.
I guess I maybe it just didn't register with me.
It was overtime.
It was an overtime game.
Yeah.
You threw 500 and some. I thought you liked Death
4
Rocks.
touchdowns.
You're tough to please.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, I'm hard to please.
Right from the damn get-go here, we're going to celebrate a fresh edition of a little gimmick we call Who Dis. Hit it, sweetheart.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Wait, hang on, I got another call. Who this?
Here's how we go about this. On the telephone right now, there's a big shot waiting to grace our airwaves. The 4 or 5 of us here on the morning show, you got the Cubby, Wapple, Dana, Ashley. We know who's waiting on the other end of the telephone line. Randy Shaver and Brad Ryder do not know.
Unlimited.
It's not friggin' Russell Wilson.
It could be.
Mr. Unlimited.
Trying to throw us off by saying it's not, but it is.
Oh, man, I would really enjoy it if we did get him on the phone sometime. I really would. Have him tell that baseball story again that never happened. Some of you remember the baseball story that never happened, that Russell Wilson will tell anybody who will listen to him for a few minutes. Randy Shaver and Brad Ryder do not know who this is. So through a series of yes or no questions, we're going to see how long it takes Randy and Brad to figure out who's on the line. You boys can only ask yes or no questions, and our big shot guest can only answer with a yes or a no. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Yep.
Everything okay over there, Wapple? I see you panicking with a telephone up to your gorgeous face.
Yeah, we had the person drop, but we got him back.
Oh, God.
All right.
Here we go.
We got them back.
This will be it. Let's have our wonderful guest give us a simple hello, if they would.
Yeah, hello.
All right. Randy Shaver, would you like to go ahead with your first yes or no question? As we, Josh, we try out another edition of Who Dis?
Who Dis?
Randy Shaver.
Are you a current or former Timberwolf player?
No.
Randy, you can only ask one yes or no question.
Sneaks that in.
That was a yes or no question.
I'm going to wrap in 5 topics into my question here.
It's the second week in a row you've done that, but we'll get back to that. Okay, so the question was, are you a current or former Timberwolf player? And our guest, who we thank so kindly for joining us, he said no. Timberwolves. Brad Ryder.
Are you a current or former Timberwolves?
Why are both of you doing this?
because he did.
Oh, it's only fair and right, Brad.
Fair ups.
Fair ups.
I actually have a guess. I have a guess, but I want the question answered first.
You go ahead, Brad.
Are you a current or former Timberwolves announcer?
No.
Oh, shoot. I was going with Michael Grady. Anyway.
Current or former announcer. Okay. Did I hear our guest kind of chuckle a little bit?
That's why I thought it was him, because I thought it sounded like his chuckle.
No, that was your dumb chuckle.
Yeah.
Randy Shaver, your next yes or no question.
Tell you what, if Denny was still alive, I would say yes, if you were Denny.
Oh, yeah, right. You thought maybe. Okay.
Yeah, the chuckle just makes me
Sounded
think of
like
Denny.
the coach, yeah.
It did. Are you a former Viking player?
Yes, I am.
Brad, right.
Well, he doesn't have a guess?
Well,
he's just
go ahead.
Question.
He's whittling away.
It's a yes or no.
You can't ask a question and then guess.
Yes,
you'll have to wait
correct.
for your next turn.
Right.
It's how.
Brad doesn't know the rules.
No.
Are you about to be inducted into the Vikings Ring of Honor?
No.
No? Okay.
Randy Shaver's turn. We're playing Who Dis. We got a big shot on the phone. All we allow here are yes or no questions and yes or no answers. We've got a few out of the way. Randy, what's on your mind, son?
Are you Chuck Foreman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome to the 93X Half-Ass Morning Show.
I did it again. I won again.
Yeah,
How do you keep doing
You're good at this.
So here's the thing. The reason why, first of all, Chuck's in the news because he is in line to possibly make the Hall of Fame through the senior committee. And both he and Jim Marshall are on the list. And I am so excited that if that does happen, they both deserve it. And I just think it's super exciting that I know the Vikings have been pushing for Chuck too, and Jim, obviously. So I think it's great that they're getting a little bit closer.
We're excited for you, Chuck Foreman, and we thank you for joining us this morning.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and all the people that have, Skull Marketing and Ben Tice and Jack Mateek and the videographer. Those are the people, and the fans, of course. Those were the people that put this whole presentation together for the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Fame committee, and I really appreciate all they've done to get me out there. And there's a couple of things that I've found out during this progress and during this thing is that I have never ever been on the list to be considered and to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And now, the way I see it, I can't say anything about the people that came before me, that played before me, nor can I say anything about the people that came after me to be on this list. But I can only say during my time of playing in the NFL, there were some good players, no question about it. But there was nobody that did it the way we did it here in Minnesota with the fullback being a runner receiver and breaking all the records there was before that. It never got any consideration. Right. That was kind of shocking to me. But all in all, these guys put this whole thing together and did a lot of work, did a lot of research, and put together a great presentation to give to the Hall of Fame committee. So I got down to from the 183 to, I think they said 60 yesterday. And so it's, just wait and see.
It's interesting to me, Chuck Foreman. I don't know anything about the process of it seems so. It seems like they put you through such a ringer for this. Where here's my question: you mentioned this video and whatnot, this campaign. Right. Shouldn't a player just be considered for his numbers, his accomplishments? You were a pioneer in the game, as you mentioned it already, as a pass-catching running back. So I think it's kind of silly personally that you have to sell yourself like this. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, first of all, everybody thought I was already a Hall of Fame player. Understand that. I mean, you go to everybody already thought I was in.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why would they think that? And so anyway, like I said, about 3.5 years ago, I met this great guy, Ben Tice. He runs Skoll Marketing in Hopkins. And then we talked about it, and he's done a lot of other great things for me as far as social media and stuff. But he said, well, look, we need to do this on our own because nobody else is going to do it or has done it. So I've never been, pushed to go there from anybody. So we decided to do it on our own. And this is how we got to where we are today. So those guys did a great job.
All right. So Jim Marshall made the cut as well?
I'm not, I'm sure. I think he did.
I think he did.
I think he did. I'm not, like I said, I'm not even all privy to all that because I didn't even know much about how the selection committee worked until we started researching it, and and then found out that I was never even on the list to be considered in my era, which kind of
crazy.
Yeah, it shocked me anyway. But and that's why we decided to go on and do it this way, to put the presentation in front of the committee and see where it goes.
Okay. So there'll be another round of cuts and then another round of cuts, and the players who remain will be, I'm not sure when this is announced. Is it Randy Shaver, Chuck Foreman? When is this announced? When
the Hall of Fame is normally announced during Super Bowl time, but I don't know about the senior committee.
Okay.
I think it's it's kind of like baseball has a different timeline for their senior committee as opposed to when the baseball writers vote. Because remember, Tony and Jim got in December, when normally the committee comes out with their vote at a different time frame. So I'm not sure when this.
Okay, I see Jim Marshall's name on the list of players who remain eligible for the class of 2025. So congratulations also to Jim Marshall. Okay, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for you, Chuck Foreman. If there's anything that we can do to help, is there anything that the average Vikings fan can do to help this process, or what?
Well, the only thing I know is we're getting a lot of support from the fans around, of course, on my website and everything else. So it's been really, really great. And like I said before, most people already thought I was in, and so now they don't. So now they know that I'm not. And so the people have been really great, the fans in Minnesota, all over. And so we're getting a lot of support. So now it's in their hands. That's all we can do. And, of course, we can keep talking about me being there. That's for sure. No question about that. But I think the presentations is in front of the people that it needs to be. And I'm just happy to be, for the first time, on the list to be considered, because I thought I never knew how the process went. But so now we're on there, and I'm grateful for that. And so let's just wait and see, and we'll go from there.
We'll get her done.
Yeah.
We'll get her done. How's everything otherwise? Chuck Foreman, man. I mean, we all grew up watching you play ball here for the Vikings and have seen you around town since. And we're
well, I'm really good. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm in a good place. What can I say? I'm a happy guy. I got I'm in a good situation and enjoy. And I'm getting out on the road here and I'm going out and meeting a lot of the fans pretty much every weekend and outside of Minneapolis and outstate Minnesota. So I'm just meeting a lot of great people and a lot of great fans, and it's good for me because now I'm just reassured. Wow, there's a lot of great people out here, so I'm happy to be able to do that.
We remember. We remember, that's for sure. It says here you've got a gig coming up on October 20th. You go out to Vikings watch parties. You got one October 20th at Sippy's Pub and Grub in Winona. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I've never been there, but Sippy sounds like it might be interesting.
I guess what they're sipping.
A sippy here and a sippy there.
Down Winona, right on the water. It might be fun.
And
so I'm sure it will be, because every place I've been the comfy. I've learned how the farming's changed, with the drones and things like that. I've been all over the place. I mean, I've been meeting people in little small towns, and it's been really exciting. I'm happy to be there and meet all these great people. So I'm really blessed, to be, after all these years, to be able to still get out and do these kind of things. I know I'm in a good place, and I'm really appreciative of it.
You still coaching, Chuck Foreman? You coaching high school sports and whatnot?
No, I've never coached, because I figured if anybody could coach me, I'd probably drive them crazy. So I didn't want to coach in high school or anything like that. That would be, if I had to deal with somebody, all these different personalities, I don't know if I could handle it.
I actually misspoke. What I meant to ask you is if you're still teaching.
Oh, well, no, I didn't go in much last year because of COVID, but I'm going to start, going in, I guess, pretty soon. So I get calls every day. So I guess one of these days I'll get up and go in.
Randy Shaver here is one of your biggest supporters and a big supporter of the Bud Grant Vikings teams and the Purple People Eater era, and Tarkington and yourself and Rashad. Randy Shaver is one of the biggest Vikings fans, 70s Vikings fans I've ever met. Randy, you got to have something to say here to Chuck.
Obviously, I mean, Chuck Foreman, the Vikings were really one of the first teams under Jerry Burns to be like what West Coast offense looks like now. I think the 49ers get the credit for being the first West Coast, but that's not necessarily true. And Chuck Foreman was part of that. He had 73 catches in 1975, which I want to say led the league, and the first time that a running back ever did that.
That's crazy.
To
have a running back lead the league in receptions. Yeah,
I mentioned this the other day. And I think I've said this before, and now that Chuck's on the line, he can actually talk about it. When Chuck got hit by a snowball in Buffalo in his eye, and I think it cost you, did it cost you the running title that year?
Yeah, I lost it by like 6 yards to a guy named Jim Otis. I was just in the third quarter, so I would have probably, and I was having a really good game. Everybody was on top of the game, everybody, everybody was just,
Talk about what happened. Tell everybody what happened, Chuck, because describe it.
I went out coming out of the backfield, going to catch a pass, and I caught it, but the guy threw a snowball, ice ball. It was an ice ball. It came through, went into my eye, and I had double vision, and after that, and so Bud, decided to keep me out of the game, and so that was how it went. And we were having I think I scored 4 touchdowns. I probably could have scored 6, but they didn't put me back in. And OJ and I were going back and forth. He had 21. I had scored 4, so we tied up at 22, and then at the end of the game, somehow he got loose and scored another touchdown, which gave him 23. And so
some jerk in the stands cost you a rushing title.
Yeah,
he cost me the Triple Crown, the first that would have been ever to done that.
Right,
so,
right.
But you know what, though? I don't know how many years later, this guy that threw that snowball tracked me down.
No way.
Yes, he did. I'm going to tell you, Jack, what's his name? Joe DeLamiere called me from Buffalo and told me he had this guy that he had met at one of his signings or something, and he was the guy that threw the snowball.
Dude.
Yeah, he's the one that threw the ice ball, whatever you call it. And would I mind if he called me?
Really?
And he called me, and I apologized, and yeah.
The guy had been feeling remorse and guilt ever since that day, and
for about 30 years.
That's crazy.
I get it. I would too.
that was kind of fun. But yeah, he was really, really sorry about it, and that was really a good thing that happened. So
maybe you should consider yourself lucky, Chuck Foreman. Have you seen what they're throwing out of the stands in Buffalo these days?
Oh, yeah. Buffalo was, my son played there, and I went up there when Jay played up in there. And let me tell you, I was like in the stands up there, and I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got to go to a suite or something. Yeah, I mean, they are really passionate about their football up in Western New York. Mm-hmm. And those are fans that kind of rowdy. So I don't know if I'd ever go. If the Vikings ever played up there, I don't think I'd be going up there to watch it.
You could still take those punks if you wanted to, Chuck Foreman.
Yeah, right.
Have you been watching? Give us your thoughts on the current Vikings ball club.
Well, I'm very, very excited about it. And here's another thing I was going to say. When we talk about these quarterbacks coming out of college and they, ranked really high and they've got a lot of ability, and then the unfortunate thing, they go to the crappiest team in the NFL who have nobody around them so that they can showcase their skill set. And with Sam Darnold, he's the perfect example. He goes to New York Jets, they have nothing. They pretty much ruined him in a little bit, but he still had that physical ability, and I always thought that he could still play it. He was with the right team. Traded around, comes back, and here he is in Minnesota. He's got the right people around him, the right coach, the right team, and now he's able to showcase the skills that we knew he always had. So, and I didn't know he could run like that. So he's doing great. We got great receivers, and of course, JJ's the best in the business. The offensive line, of course, is just playing out of sight, and the running game's going. So when you got all those things going, you can do some great things. So I'm hoping if the Vikings stay healthy, they'll be definitely in the hunt.
Let me ask you one more question regarding the Buffalo Bills. What do you think of a guy who grows up here in Minnesota with such a rich tradition of outstanding NFL players like yourself and the Purple People Eaters and people like Bud Grant, and then one day he decides to just disregard all of that and cheer for the Buffalo Bills? What do you think of a guy that does something like that, Chuck Foreman?
Oh, boy.
I think he might need a tune-up.
You have no idea.
That's what I think on that one.
A tune-up. You are a friggin' pimp, Chuck Foreman.
I just had to say that. That's the only thing I could say, obviously.
No, I know. We know what it's like to have to behave ourselves on radio.
Yeah, I do.
Chuck, it says here, I understand you're very social, very active on social media. Can we be your friend on Facebook?
You certainly can.
All right.
I'd be more than happy to have you.
Have you seen Moo Dang the Baby Hippo?
Can't say I have.
Okay. Maybe you want to look that up. Moo Dang the Baby Hippo. Everyone's going crazy for him. And Skibbity Toilet. Hey, Chuck. Dude, this has been such an honor. You're a legend. We're going to be keeping our fingers crossed and rooting for you getting into the Hall of Fame. If there's something we could do, you let us know, Chuck.
Well, I'll definitely do that, and I appreciate you having me on. And Randy, I'll get to that golf tournament one of these days. Now that I'm healed,
I know you will.
Between that club, so
I will keep inviting you because I
keep
want you out there.
Me, man. Because it's not that I can't. I don't want to. I just haven't been able to. But it's. I'm really, really thankful that you guys had me on this morning. It's been great. Good way to start the day.
Love you, Chuck Foreman.
Yeah. Thank you very much, you guys.
Randy could use a tune-up, See you later, man.
I think we all can.
But we all got one coming. Thank you, Chuck Foreman, for joining the program. There you go. Man.
So probably one of the reasons why Chuck Foreman, unfortunately, isn't in the Hall of Fame is because he didn't play as long as some guys did.
Okay.
Injuries shortened his career.
Right.
But he had some years, I'm telling you, where he was the most dominant running back.
No doubt.
In the National Football League. Mm-hmm. And so that's the unfortunate part for Chuck is that just longevity is just not on his side.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is he played he was at the very tail end of the 14-game season, and so many people just look at numbers. I think it was 80 or 81 that they went to the 16 and now 17-game season. So you look at his numbers, and I was looking at him while he was talking here, and he went over 1,000 yards 3 times. And back when you played 14 games, that was a big deal. Well, now you play 17 games, going over 1,000 yards isn't as big a deal. But back then it was. And, you know, I think part of the reason why now he's being considered a little bit more strongly, too, is because we had an era for about 20 years where that whole pass-catching running back didn't really go away, but it wasn't quite as prevalent. Well, now it's back again, and people can appreciate what he did.
You're right, Brad Ryder. Oh, that was really cool. It really was.
A lot of people texting in nice things about him, and that they've met him here or there, kind of sharing stories.
Yeah, he's a good man.
I know I've shared with you guys before that one night I was blessed. I use the word blessed too much, don't I, Josh?
I guess I've never heard you say it.
I'm such a deep religious person. I consider myself blessed one evening many years ago to have been a judge at a Hooters bikini contest. That's right, Wapple.
That's so cool.
That's a gift.
They built a little run.
Did you have to pay them, or did they pay you?
I think maybe they actually paid me, Brad. Right?
Okay.
But they set up a little runway in the bar, you know, so the girls could walk down the runway like you see on the television model whatever the Victoria's. They had a runway set up, and I was one of the judges. It was like there's just 3-4 of us, and my God, Josh knows he was part of that scene once or twice. It was heart-stopping stuff. So there was a delay to the start of the contest, which didn't bother me. Whatever, I'm just sitting there swilling cold ones, and I asked, well, what's the delay? And the dude who was running Hooters said, well, one of the judges haven't shown up yet. And finally that judge showed up. It was friggin' Chuck Foreman. So I sat next to Chuck Foreman throughout this entire Hooters bikini contest, and every girl that walked the aisle, Chuck would just go, damn.
Did you tell him, I think it was the previous year, what your responsibilities at that same contest were? Did you bring that up?
I don't know if we talked about my previous duties at a Hooters bikini contest.
I've never seen you so happy.
I was
including your weddings.
Right. I was in charge of making sure that no dirty parts showed out the side or top or bottom of the bikini. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes. Didn't you use adhesive?
I had a little bottle of spray adhesive.
Yeah.
And I went, there was like 30 girls in the contest. I went through every damn one of them with a little, pss, pss, yep, a little bit sticking out there. And I'd stick it there. And they would just say, go ahead.
Hey, can I tell you something? You were a professional.
Thank
you weren't
you.
like a pervert or you weren't immature about it. You took that seriously.
I did.
They had the right
Proud
guy
of
for the
you.
job.
And thank you for saying that. I didn't want anyone to be under the impression that I
No, you
that
enjoyed your work.
I certainly
For sure.
enjoyed.
You enjoyed your work, but you didn't mess around.
All right. So Kirk Cousins had this great game last night. The Falcons won in overtime. Ashley wasn't impressed.
I wanted 600 yards.
Apparently you need to throw for 700 yards.
I guess
before
maybe
season.
6 touchdowns.
I was in and out, not paying complete attention, I guess, but I just thought it was another regular game.
Who needs him? Sam Darnold was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Month, and we all know he's been whooping ass so far. The Vikings have that 8:30 in the morning game Sunday against the Gas Bag.
Love those.
Okay. All right. Great. Another Brad is about to join us. Just what we need. 2 Brads. And just give it a minute.
Hold on, Brad. Stand by.
And I want to make something perfectly clear, Brad Ryder. I only say that because you're the ultimate Brad. Why would another be necessary, right?
Well, we'll see. If he wins this thing, he might become the ultimate Brad.
When you have the best Brad, who needs the next? Okay, other Brad, you're on the telephone?
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
Not much. How's it going, guys?
We're all right. This week's Purple Pick'em Grand Prize qualifying winner is Brad from Effin' Blaine. Now, thank God there's only one Blaine.
Twin Blaines.
Love it.
You know what I'm talking about, other Brad?
Yeah.
Thank God there's only one Blaine. Okay, you qualified to make some picks here on the radio. You ever been on the radio before, other Brad?
A lot back in the day. I haven't been in for quite a while, no.
Is that because they put some kind of a ban on you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, back in the day, I used to win quite a bit back in the day.
Say this for me. Say, oh yeah, is she a great big fat person?
Oh yeah, big fat person.
Doesn't he sound like the guy from Silence of the Lambs?
Putting lotion on skin.
You sound like Buffalo Bob or Bill from Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, talk about lotion on the skin for a minute, if you would.
It just puts the lotion on the skin.
I got chills.
You see, you've been told this before, haven't you, other Brad?
No. You got my wife cracking up, though.
Good. You're qualified to make some picks. Okay, you already won a $25 gift card to Dickey's Barbecue Pit of Eagan, and now we're looking to make you a few more bucks, other Brad. We need your guess for the halftime score of this weekend's Minnesota game, is how we have to call it, the Minnesota game. Halftime score, other Brad.
Minnesota, I'm thinking 17, New York 10.
All right. And what about the final?
Final, Minnesota 27, New York 17.
Hey.
All right. You guys know how this works now. If other Brad gets the halftime score or the final score correct, that means $1,000. If you get them both, other Brad, $100K and a trip to the big game in New Orleans.
Oh, that'd be phenomenal. I couldn't even.
Thank you for cleaning that up.
Yeah. That would be phenomenal. You ever been to New Orleans, other Brad?
No, L.A., that's about it.
I bet you other Brad never returns from New Orleans. That sounds like your kind of town, man. It would just swallow you up, and you'd be happy to be swallowed up by New Orleans. It's a hell of a place. You mentioned you're a married man. Say hi to the wife for us, okay?
Please do.
I definitely will.
And thank you for listening, and good luck this weekend, other Brad, with our Purple Pick'em setup.
Appreciate you.
See you later, man. Other Brad. Kind of creepy.
I love that guy.
I like him too.
Yeah, badass.
Man. Hear the way he spit that movie line out just perfectly.
Book Nerd Jesus said, this guy sounds bitchin'. I agree.
Sounds like the type of guy if I was at the bar and he was in my group, I know I could lip off to anybody because Brad would step in and take care of anybody who mess with him.
Yeah.
Sound like he could do a Mean Jesse impression, too.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Don't we already have someone who can do that?
Yeah,
Brad?
I was trying to bait the hook.
I bet he sucks at doing a Jesse impression.
Oh, my God. Protecting his territory.
Jesus, don't you know my brand?
Gross.
All right, here we go. Continuing on, gentlemen. Hey, a couple of former NFL players. We just had a former NFL great on the line, Chuck Foreman. A couple of former NFL players, I guess they have something or another they need to settle. Or maybe they just want to show us how not to fight. They're going to go ahead and enter the octagon. Chad Ochocinco, has agreed to fight, and this one might be a little more difficult for you to picture. Chad Ochocinco has agreed to fight former Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker James Harrison.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I thought, too.
Wow.
They're going to fight in an MMA bout. Speaking of New Orleans and the Super Bowl, they're going to put this little gimmick on when all the Super Bowl parties start down there in New Orleans. You know how you can go to the NFL experience and go to a live concert and everything has to do with the Super Bowl?
Yep.
This is going to be part of that hype this February. So Chad Ochocinco and James Harrison in an octagon.
Why? Why would you go up against James Harrison?
To the death. And the winner, I think just to get more people on their listening to their podcast or something is. I don't think that anyone's really going to hurt anybody.
Okay.
But that's
Harrison just looks intimidating.
Yeah, exactly.
Just something fun to do. It says here Chad Johnson is just a few weeks away from his 47th birthday. I think Harrison might be a little younger, but I'm not sure. So it's going to be an exhibition bout in New Orleans down there when the Super Bowl is setting up.
He's 46.
46.
Yeah.
3-round bout. I don't know. Sounds like a patty cake kind of a thing just to get some attention and some hits on their podcast, but maybe they do. Maybe Harrison.
This is actually going 5. They're doing a 5-round round for this one. Well, that's what they're planning.
Right. Maybe one of them pulls an arm, free from the other and beats him to death. I don't know. I just thought maybe you'd be interested in such a thing. Thanks a lot, Wisconsin. We can't count on you for dick, can we? All we asked is that you bastards help America. Stop being so selfish and help America get rid of just one New York ball club out of the big league playoffs. and you couldn't do it. You had your home ballpark as an advantage. We didn't even ask you to oust the really good New York team. We only asked you to handle the much weaker club, and you still let us down.
Well, we really don't have a leg to stand on when we ask people to help us out. We're sitting here out of the playoffs and choking.
This isn't just about sports, Randy Shaver. This is about asking Wisconsin to help America. You're thinking too small. I'm thinking big picture here. The Milwaukee Brewers had a 2-0 lead in the 9th inning of the deciding game of their wild card round playoff series with the New York Mets last night, and the Brewers found a way, I should say, to crap their pants. And of all people, you let that hard-on Pete Alonso be the hero.
He's a big, strong guy.
I'm a big, strong guy.
Stupid. Pete Alonso hit a 3-run bomb in the 9th inning for the Metropolitans. I'm talking heartbreak here.
It's gone! He did it! He did it! Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career. Pumps his fist as he rounds second. It's a 3-run homer. He's given the Mets a 3-2 lead. Pete Alonso keeps this fairy tale season going with the fairy tale swing of his career.
Heartbreaking loss for Wisconsin, but more so for America, because now we got to deal with 2 New York teams in the next round of games. Thanks for nothing, Wisconsin. Was I the only one who was watching this live?
I did not see it.
I was back and forth. I missed it live. But
State of hockey, my ass. The Mets now take on the Philadelphia Phillies in the divisional round starting tomorrow.
There's some clear rooting interest for people who like big market, small market.
Talk to me, Brad Wright.
Well, you got Detroit, Detroit, Kansas City, Cleveland, teams you want to root for, maybe San Diego, and then you've got the 2 New York teams in L.A. and Philly.
There you go. Other than the Phillies and Mets, tomorrow features game 1s across the board for Detroit playing at Cleveland, Kansas City's at the New York Yankees, and the San Diego Padres at the Los Angeles Dodgers. Watching that Alonso home run last night live, I mean, my damn.
Yeah. Yep.
That crowd at that ballpark in Milwaukee was ready to get done. And the prick has to hit. And Oppo also, he goes opposite field.
That's the definition of clutch, though.
Yep.
Good grief.
What a prick. Terry Francona's back.
Yeah, how about that?
That was cool to see.
Back in business.
He must be feeling better because he left because of health reasons, and he must be feeling better.
He's the new skipper for the Cincinnati Reds.
Boy, do they need a guy like him, too. That's perfect.
Yeah, Terry Francona, who won a couple of series with the Red Sox back in the day as their manager, and then had a long stint in Cleveland, like Randy Shaver alluded to, left because of health issues. He must be feeling much, much better because he said, yeah, I'll go ahead and manage the Reds. 65 years old now, Terry Francona.
Yeah.
It's a division where you really don't have a year-by-year dominant team either, so he could probably turn that around real quick. I mean, the Brewers are there this year, obviously, but, he could get him back in there.
The Brewers have been the most consistent winner in that division as of late, but the Reds have a very young, talented lineup.
They do.
With Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain and guys, Spencer Steer, guys like that.
Good young pitching. And
good, decent young pitching. They could use a couple of veteran guys in that rotation, but they do have a good start. It's not like the cupboard is bare, that's for sure.
He wouldn't come back if he didn't think that team could win.
And their expectations were through the roof this year, and they just did not accomplish it. So,
so I'm mad at Wisconsin for letting us down last night. We don't ask them for much, and when we do, they screw it up. I wasn't aware of this, Josh. A lady listener by the name of Hot Cocoa Sheezes, by the way, Hot Cocoa, she says, I didn't realize she was a Wisconsin lady, but now I'm seeing it through her phone number on the text machine. She's a 715er. Hot Cocoa, she says, I guess has an excuse for Wisconsin letting us down last night. She texted in to say, we're too busy playing with big boobies.
Oh, wow.
What are you talking about?
That would explain it.
Yeah.
All
Makes
right.
perfect sense.
Explain this to us, Hot Cocoa Cheeses. I mean, you're too busy playing with big boobies.
Remember back in the day, the excuse when you couldn't do something was you were carrying these 2 sacks?
Yes.
Maybe that's what we got to start saying now.
I'd like to hear that other Brad, do a Jesse bit where he talks about carrying 2 sacks. I would.
Boy, I can't wait for our border bash now.
What are we talking about?
Going to Wisconsin.
Playing with big boobies.
Because of the
big boobies.
The alleged large-chested women?
We'll find out.
The St. Paul Saints are bringing the Savannah Bananas to town next summer.
I can't wait.
Fun.
Yeah, that'll sell out.
I check their schedule every year to see if they're
nobody's going to go to that.
They will.
They're going to
They
really
sell out
struggle.
Major League Stadium.
They're going to struggle to sell tickets, Brad Ryder. Probably we'll have so many to give away for free here on the radio station.
It'll feel like a third place.
Of course it's going to sell out, you dumb bastards. Yeah, next August 1st and 2nd, the Bananas will be playing here in town, and they have a lot of fun. Cubby, you're pumped, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I check it every year to see if they're coming to town or if they're coming somewhere close.
All right. Caitlin Clark of the Indiana Fevers won the WNBA Rookie of the Year. How do you say that, Josh?
Yep.
Rookie of the Year.
Rookie
Almost unanimous.
of the Year award is what I was trying to. 1 vote away from being a unanimous winner. Here's one way to know that you're a big damn deal. Oh, by the way, when do the Lynx play next?
I think tonight.
Tonight? Yeah.
Okay. And someone, where are they in the series? I meant to look this up.
1-1, and they're in Connecticut tonight.
Best of 5.
Yes.
6:30 tonight.
Okay. All right. Here's one way to know. Okay, Hot Cocoa Cheeses has gotten back to me. Again, her excuse for Wisconsin blowing it last night and not beating the Mets was they were too busy playing with big boobies. She's texted back to clarify. Yeah, big boobies, she says. You've got one of those chatting with you on the radio. Okay, so she's calling one of you a boob. Or 2 of you a set of boobies. I don't know. I don't know what she's talking about. Here's one way to know that you're a big deal. Shaquille O'Neal, the Diesel, the Daddy, the Playground Prince, the Big Aristotle. He showed up to promote a chicken restaurant in Michigan, and people became so desperate to get a look at the prick that a few of them started fighting with the cops. This really turned out to be a terrible thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This was a handful of days ago. Shaq, he founded a chicken joint in Heartland, Michigan, and they call it Big Chicken. Okay? So he shows up, and it sounds like the joint isn't open to the public yet. This was like a special occasion.
Soft opening.
Soft opening.
Yep.
Shaq shows up, and a few of the suits can sit and eat with him. But a crowd notices, how can you not, Shaq sitting in the restaurant. They're looking through the window, walking on the sidewalk. They see Shaq in there eat. Well, for Christ's sake, that's Shaq. So a crowd gathers. The cops show up to control the crowd, and people went nuts. A 21-year-old kid took a swing at a cop.
Good
few
idea.
other absolute imbeciles also jumped in, and it got serious. One of them tried to take a cop's gun. Another one tried to choke a cop. Good Lord. So the cops had to legit tune these folks up because they saw Shaq through a window. I mean, what are you, a 10-year-old?
There's a video of this on 93x.com.
What is the problem? You can't control yourself when you see a famous person? This is just insane. Thank you for that. Video on 93x.com?
Yep.
One of those that attacked them was a mom with her kids, like older kids. Can you imagine this mom behaving that way?
The cops just simply, okay, step back. We know it's Shaq. Just take it easy. They couldn't control themselves. I'll say it again. I don't understand us anymore. I don't.
No.
Yeah.
I don't either.
I saw Shaq many, many years ago at the Mall of America. I didn't know he was going to be there. You just see this giant dude with a swarm, just surrounded by people. Everybody behaved themselves there. And I mean, not too often you see that many people, hanging outside of the Nike store or wherever he was. It was crazy.
Hey, all the social media dorks are in love with the goth lady college volleyball player.
She's up on 93x.com.
You got to get a look at the goth lady college volleyball player. She plays for Boise State's beach volleyball team. And her name is Nora Haid. She's gone viral for her photo on the team's website. When you punch on the roster, you can see the roster of the college volleyball team there at Boise State. And you've got, how the college lady volleyball players look,
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
She does not look like your typical ladies college volleyball player. She's been described as having a goth look.
Yeah. Yep. She's badass for that.
She certainly stands out. To me, it looks like straight up clown makeup. I guess I don't really.
Yeah, I don't know that I would have said goth.
That's like true goth.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, then I guess
that's true goth to be all colorful and whatnot? Because she's very colorful. She has bright red hair, and her makeup looks like the kind of clown makeup you'd see at a circus or something.
Or
she looks like
concert.
She looks like Pennywise, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people said it's more Juggalo.
Yeah.
Oh,
Insane
really?
Clown Posse.
Yeah,
totally get that vibe.
When I think goth, I think of this for sure.
She just needs a Feo beverage.
A what?
A Feo.
I don't know what that means. Goth to me is just black, everything black.
I don't think it's like that anymore, at least from what I see.
Okay. But the internet's fallen in love with this gal. Check her out. It's not every day you see athletes fully committed to that type of a look. Someone on Twitter said, you don't see too many gothletes out there.
You really don't.
You don't.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that she looks so much different than the other girls and doesn't care.
Another individual said, Hot Topic better make history with the NIL deal.
Yeah.
For sure.
You ever go shopping for nose rings and Guar T-shirts at Hot Topic? Anybody?
Used to go to Hot Topic quite a bit.
I still go to Hot Topic. I love Hot Topic.
That was the only place you could get wrestling T-shirts for a very long time.
Yeah, they have really cheap, really good band tees too.
If you like
looking for those.
The Nightmare Before Christmas, Hot Topic is for you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Or
and
Hello
Rick and
Kitty.
Morty.
Yeah, Rick and Morty. Oh my gosh, that took over Hot Topic for a while.
So I guess you haven't been to Hot Topic
No,
then?
never heard of
Okay.
it.
I was just there like
This
not
is
too long
really
ago.
funny. Someone else on Twitter, back to the goth beach volleyball player gal, someone else just tweeted, "It's not a phase, Mom."
I liked one that had a kind of like a group photo of a bunch of the players' headshots, and then they said, which one's the goth one?
Yeah, I saw that. That's cute. I can't tell.
I just saw a picture of her without the goth on, and she's very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people are texting in now. They claim to know the true definition of goth or juggalo or whatever. Just check out the photos. They're fun. Randy Shaver and Brad Ryder, you guys have a terrific weekend.
Okay. All right. You too.
Appreciate everything. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Half-assed morning show.
They're loud, they lose control, they do their little circus act. They're a nuisance.
93X.
Our technicians are geared up and ready to make sure your system is running reliably this winter. Regular maintenance from Standard Heating and Air Conditioning helps prevent costlier breakdowns in the future, and we know they always happen at the worst time.
Hey, Ashley here. Get your home ready for winter. Schedule your furnace tune-up with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning and save $30. Have a boiler? Save $40 on your boiler tune-up. Visit standardheating.com to book and lock in your savings. Stay cozy, stay ready.
Check out the podcast that inspired Taylor Sheridan's latest series, Landman.
There's a stretch of road in an oil-rich region of West Texas. This region of West Texas, known as the Permian Basin, is in the midst of the biggest oil boom in history. This is a story of roughnecks, billionaire wildcatters, and wannabe dreamers. My name is Christian Wallace. From Texas Monthly and Imperative Entertainment, this is Boomtown.
Boomtown, wherever you listen.
Half-assed morning show.
What's a push pop? It's a sexual term that I just made up.
What's a push pop?
I'll send you some links.
On 93X.
All right, let's get her. It's 8:28 here on the 93X Half-Ass Morning Show. In studio with us, by God, right now, lawyer Ryan Pacyga. If you have a question involving legal this or illegal that, if you need legal advice, Ryan can handle it. The number we have here is 651-989-9393. Text in if you have a problem or need a little bit of advice. Ryan, good to see you again.
Great to be back.
Look at us both staring at each other's handsome faces through cheater glasses.
Right.
How much has changed, my God, over the years? We both are staring at each other. Yours look a little thicker than mine. I got to be honest with you.
You know, I got LASIK a couple years ago, and when I got LASIK, all of a sudden, that takes away your short vision to have to read. So
I'll tell you what, you wear them well.
Trade, though.
You wear them very well. Nice to have you back in studio.
Good to be back.
And I know, at least I heard yesterday, one of the things that you wanted to talk about this morning, and we touched on it very briefly, but of course we don't know what the hell we're talking about. Cell phone rights or something along those lines.
Yeah, let's talk about how they handle those things.
Cell phone rights, what are we talking?
Yeah, sure. So it's a few things. Number one, let's say law enforcement, sometimes they'll execute a search warrant in someone's home. They're looking for drugs or whatever like that, right? And they sometimes have a right to seize your cell phones. Other times they don't. It depends on the search warrant. But what they'll do often is they'll ask someone for their code to get into the phone. And you don't have to provide that. What's funny in the law in Minnesota is that they can get an order from a judge if the judge will grant it, compelling someone to put their fingerprint on the phone. If you've got one of those ones where you can unlock it with your thumb or whatever, they can actually make you do that through a judge's order. Or they could put your face in it and have it unlocked that way if you use that. But what they can't make you do is enter the code in your cell phone. So if you get into it by entering a code, but punching the numbers,
sure,
they can't make you tell that. Okay. So that's one thing. But let's say they seize your cell phone, meaning they take your cell phone. Maybe the warrant gives them a right to take it. It wouldn't give them a right to go through it. So then they'd have to apply for another search warrant to go through your phone. Now, if you consent to this, if you give them the code, then you've consented that away, okay? The other thing is though they can hack into your phone with a tool often called Gray Key, which is a computer program that they can plug into your phone, and they can kind of try to hack into the code that way, and it works often, but not always. And let's say they do get into your cell phone. Then sometimes they only have a right to look for certain things in the cell phone and not through the whole cell phone. So this is how this works. There's another program that police have called Celebrite usually, and what that does is they plug your phone into it, and it's into a computer with software, and that Celebrite will download the contents of your entire phone's hard drive. So when you think on your computer, if you have a Word document or sort of picture or something and you delete it, you think it's gone.
Yeah.
It's not really gone. I think most people know that. It's still on the hard drive. It just doesn't show on there anymore, but it's on the hard drive. Okay. Same with your cell phone. When you delete something, it's not really gone. It's on your phone's hard drive or your SIM card. Okay.
Nick's sweating over there.
Yeah.
Jesus
your
Christ.
phone will indiscriminately overwrite it over time. It'll choose some places if it's getting low on memory or some things, and overwrite some things. But there's no guarantee. It just does that indiscriminately. So you can't control what it'll overwrite or not. But long story short, if police plug this Celebrite in, they're going to download an entire mirror image of your phone's hard drive. And then they've got this software where they can go through everything, right? And so sometimes they'll find something that they're not even looking for, and that can get people in more trouble, and we have to fight about whether they violated the terms of the search warrant or not, and those sorts of things. So those challenges can be made. Sometimes we get evidence thrown out because they shouldn't have got a phone. They shouldn't have been able to go into the phone, or they went into places in the phone that they weren't allowed to go to. Let me give you an example. They're looking for evidence of text messages for drug transactions or something. And then they end up going into your photo library, and they're seeing something in there.
Oh, no, not me with some weed.
Yeah, alleged weed.
That could have been anything.
Could have been oregano.
I have to tell him.
I know.
Anyway,
guys, he hasn't been in enough trouble.
Right.
He still doesn't know to throw the word alleged in there now and
That's
again.
right. But so that's one example of things they can do with your phone. But let me give you something that other people might not know. Have you ever heard of a cell site simulator?
No.
I didn't think so. So get this. These have been around for probably 10, 15 years. Police can drive around in their squad cars or their unmarked vehicles, and they have this thing kind of in a briefcase, if you will. and this thing mimics a cell phone tower. So when you have your phone on, right, it's connecting to a cell phone tower. That's how you're able to make calls and receive calls and things like that, right? This thing is a fake cell phone tower signal, and it will trick your phone into connecting to this thing in the officer's squad car or unmarked vehicle. And when it does that, they can start pinging your location to your phone really close, right, to where you are exactly, and fooling your phone into that. But another thing they can do is get these warrants where they can get trap and trace sort of warrants, and they can start getting all of your incoming calls and listening to them, all of your outgoing calls, as well as your text message or SSMS messages and other things like that. So these are some devices they can use, and they got to get a search warrant to do these things. They won't always use a search warrant to try to use this cell phone cell site simulator, and sometimes I don't even think they tell judges that they were really using these things. But that's some of the technology that's out there.
So if let's say that happens to me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
If the cop that's listening in, if he dies because I bored him to death, am I in trouble?
When he's going through your phone?
Yeah, he's listening to what's going on. He's seeing the lack of interesting photos. The text messages are mundane and stupid.
You got to have just a little bit of filth on your phone. Come on, Josh. Everybody does.
No filth.
You bastard.
None.
All of this stuff is mind-blowing.
Can you,
to me.
What if the cop, so in the situation, going back to the cop says, all right, I need that phone.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say, hold on, I'm going to use my phone to call my lawyer first? Can you do that, or what do you do in that situation?
They don't want to let you have your phone because they're worried that you're going to delete something right away. So usually they'll take the phone and then they'll put it on airplane mode or power it down right away, because another thing they're worried about is people remotely wiping their phone. There are some features where you can go onto like iCloud or something and it'll connect with your phone and wipe your phone, just factory reset it. And they're worried about that, so they want to disable that phone right away so that sort of thing can't happen.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's, it's so important, because everyone's entire lives are on their phone now.
Right.
Remember the old days in the cop shows when an investigator would enter an apartment, he'd be going through their closets, going through their dresser drawers, trying to find evidence?
Yeah.
Everything's on your friggin' phone now.
Everything's on.
Some of that stuff is just mind-blowing, what they can and what they can get away with, I guess.
Yeah, so I won't go deep into the topic, but I've got a case in another state right now where law enforcement went in on a drug raid at a guy's place. He was allegedly selling some THC wax and things like that. And they get his phone, right? And he gives them the code because he doesn't know any better. And they go get a search warrant for the phone to just look for evidence of some drug transactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they go into his photos where they weren't supposed to go and would beyond the date range that the judge allowed. Basically, they said, we want to look at stuff on his phone from, I'm going to make updates, January 1st through May 1st of 2024.
Sure.
Okay? And they go in and they find a photo from like 2 years before. And it's an alleged photo that you wouldn't legally be able to possess. I won't go into details.
Sure.
Right?
Gotcha.
Okay? And so they get another search warrant based on that. Well, we brought in an expert that has done some work for federal agencies and for the federal government when they prosecute people. So it's a really highly qualified expert. And the officer said, well, I couldn't help myself. I just came upon this photo in the phone. And our expert went through their data and said, no. You didn't use the settings on this technology that I told you about. You could have limited the date range of files you were looking at, and you purposefully didn't do it so that you could uncover this.
Mm-hmm.
So we're battling about that right now. And if we win on that hearing, in a suppression hearing, his case will be thrown out. Not the drug part of it, but this photo that was on the phone. But the scarier thing is this. There are some applications out there, and I don't know what people get sued for nowadays or not. It's kind of crazy out there. So I won't name the types of applications, but applications that a lot of younger people use, okay? And there's some of these applications where if you're chatting with someone or connecting with someone without you knowing it, they can actually push things onto your phone, depending on your settings behind these apps that most of us don't even look at. And so they can push something onto your phone, which can end up in a file on your phone that you don't even know, which can get really scary in the event, like let's say they send over a picture of child pornography or something. And that can be pushed onto your phone without you ever knowing it.
All right, that's it. Throw this friggin' thing in the garbage.
What the heck?
I'm so scared.
Throw my phone in the garbage.
That's terrifying.
You know, it's like the whole that, and you think about AI and how you could. I mean, if you have a half hour of somebody speaking, you can make them say anything and somewhat believable.
Totally on that, and as well as the photos nowadays or the videos that we're seeing.
So it's almost like you're telling us if someone wanted to frame us for something awful, it can happen without us even knowing.
It could happen.
Could happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jesus criminy.
So you got to be careful with all that stuff. I mean, I talked about this this is beyond this, but one other time before. You know what I just saw on Facebook? They had this, Sons Day, right, where everyone posts a picture of their sons or everything like that. I am convinced, I am absolutely convinced that is nothing to do other than to build a network of intelligence about whose people's relatives are with photos of all of them.
Right.
And then also to get aging, these photos age over time as kids grow up and those sorts of things. And so I don't believe any of that when people are putting that. I just don't. You got to be very careful about that because of the AI, Josh. I mean, I could get better looking overnight now. You can take 10 of my photos, tweak them a little bit,
You
take
can't
the cheaters
improve
off.
perfection. So along those like the those family where you send off and find out your family tree, is this true? So I've seen it on cop shows, so maybe it's not true. But they can say, let's say I commit a crime.
Yes.
My brother has done it. They can say, hey, and I'm getting away with this crime forever. They've got my DNA. They see my brother did it, and I forgot familial DNA. I forgot what they call it, but where he could actually kind of bust me because he did that. Is that kind of thing true?
I think that could happen. What we're seeing more is when family members will give their DNA to find this family tree or whatever, and all of a sudden there's DNA that's close to that, and they're able to solve a cold case later because they can go into this, old DNA that's given for these family tree things and get back to the person who committed the cold case a long time ago because of the DNA traits that's in that stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I saw too.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly for your question. I don't want to misspeak on it, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a question from a listener. I'm not going to read the Jesus name because I don't know if they want me to or not. This person has a friend who was involved in a hit and run where they were clearly at fault. What is their best course of action to avoid the harshest penalty? So I don't have any other details.
Yeah.
on it.
So I'd call a lawyer, and so one of the things I hope everybody knows this. I don't tell people to call a lawyer when they really don't need to do it. I do think that some lawyers will scare the heck out of someone anytime they can to get their money, and I don't think that's not the right way to treat people. So if you don't need to call a lawyer, I'll tell you that you don't need to call a lawyer. But in this situation, I would call a lawyer for a couple reasons. One, oftentimes we can help someone while they're being investigated for a crime without them being charged with a crime. And sometimes through that, we can help them not get charged with a crime. That's one advantage. We can't promise that every time.
I would really appreciate that. I would, if I'm ever in that situation.
But I've done that situation in this kind of scenario where there's a hit and run, for example, and be able to counsel people about what their rights are and what they should or shouldn't do in that situation. Second thing is, even if you do get charged with a crime, we can usually make it smoother for you by, for example, the difference between getting charged with a summons, which is mailed a court date, versus getting arrested on a warrant, right? That's not a fun thing to get picked up at work and handcuffed in front of everyone or your kids at home. So sometimes that can help it as well, and sometimes also that can help with reduction of any charges you're facing. So every situation is unique, but if that situation's happened, I'd call a lawyer. You can hire us while you're under investigation before you're charged with a crime, which is also cheaper than if you're charged with a crime.
Okay.
And the way I do it for people is I say, hey, if you hire me while you're under investigation, it'll cost X $1,000, and then if you're later charged with a crime, I apply that X $1,000 toward what your fee would be anyway, so I don't double dip on it. It's sort of like you've already got a credit of X towards what the fee would be if you're charged with a crime. So you're not losing money out. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, it does.
And to kind of go back to what you said, I mean, anybody that listens to the show knows that we're huge military and law enforcement supporters.
Yeah.
That being said, if I was ever accused of anything, no matter how minor, I would want to call someone like yourself. I've watched enough Dateline and all that kind of stuff to know, like, people screw themselves over, even if they might not really have anything to hide. Somehow they say something like Wapple over there that gets in some trouble.
100%. So I've represented many police officers in my career, and the first thing they do if they're accused of a crime without even being charged is they call a lawyer. I've represented, people in the court systems as well. Some, family members of judges, other court personnel, things like that. So even people who work in the industry, the first thing they do, whether it's police or military or people in the courts, they call a lawyer if there's anything going on as well. It's your right to have yourself protected that way. It's a good idea.
I'd feel like a jerk, right? If it seems like something that maybe you don't call, I would definitely feel like a jerk. And I know it probably doesn't make you look innocent.
I get that question all the time. I don't think it really looks that way. Most detectives, who are the ones that investigate crimes, understand that if someone's being investigated for a crime, they'd want to get a lawyer, and detectives would go get a lawyer if they're in that situation as well.
So it's not as bad as it makes it on TV. They always seem pissed off.
Yeah, no, I mean some officers might get offended by it, but I'd rather have an officer offended by it and protect my own rights than have an officer not be pissed off, if I can say that. Sorry, and then
you're good.
And then make my criminal case worse if I'm charged with a crime, right? I mean, it's the lesser of the two evils. And they shouldn't be offended because our Constitution gives that protection to every citizen when you're accused of a crime, even if you're not charged yet. So it's just the right thing to do.
People are texting in plenty of examples about that DNA test, getting people crime solved. I'll try anything twice, Jesus said. The DNA you're talking about solved my cousin's 35-year-old murder in Nevada.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Wow.
There's some fascinating and frightening things. And it's nice to have a guy like Ryan here to explain these things to us. It's 651-989-9393. We're talking to lawyer Ryan Pacyga. Now, Ryan gave us some great cell phone information earlier. The young people love their cell phones. And speaking of the young kids, you had some advice for parents of teens.
Yeah, so you know what can happen with the teens nowadays. They're getting together with someone of the opposite sex or whatever, and all of a sudden they send them a picture. Maybe it's a nude or something like that. And this teenage guy can't just help himself, but he forwards it on to a couple of his buddies the next day, which can be distribution of child pornography. And next thing you know, there's a detective heading to the school to interview this 15, 16, 14-year-old kid. And what you might not know, parents out there, is that the police or the school doesn't have to tell you that they're bringing your kid into a room alone with this detective and interviewing him, and that he's got a right to remain silent, doesn't have to do any of this.
That surprises me.
Yeah, as a parent, you'd think that they'd have to tell you, right? Because you want to be there for your kid to protect. They don't even have to tell you about it.
So I wish I would have known this when I was 16, man.
Right?
I mean, I got grilled one day. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so this can be anything from the little bullying situations that happen where maybe they're looking at them for an assault to the example I just gave you. So what you should do as a parent is, look, you all hope your kids are acting the right way, and most of them are good kids. But if police or the school ever want to bring them in and interview them about, and they'll pull them right out of class and do this, and start asking them questions about this stuff, you should just tell your kid, hey, you got a right to not answer any questions. And what I want you to tell them is, hey, my mom and dad told me I'm not ever supposed to answer questions in these situations without my mom and dad being here with me or without getting a lawyer for me. If you don't train your kid to do that, they don't know any better, of course, and they're going to answer these questions and make a situation harder on themselves. And sometimes, depending on the way it can go really south, is, look, a lot of police officers are really good people. I've seen them do great work, right? And so I'm not some anti-police defense lawyer at all. But they're human beings too, and what can happen sometimes is, because they're human beings, they can think they know what happened and get it wrong, and they can start walking a kid into answers in an interview by their leading the questions, and a kid all of a sudden starts saying some things that aren't exactly right and digging themselves in a deeper hole. And then we got to try to go fix that later, which is a hard thing to do. So this is why it's not to be disrespectful to police or any of that sort of stuff, because people's natural desire is, hey, they usually think, hey, if police are asking me questions, I should answer them. It's the respectful thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Well, as a parent, our kids, they're running around with teenage brains, right? So they're not thinking clearly. At least I wasn't at that age.
No, we never did.
Right, we still don't. I don't think. But anyway.
There are times you kind of wonder.
Right. But so you want to have that talk with your kid and just say, listen, hopefully this never happens. But if it does, just tell them, I'm not going to answer any questions without my mom and dad being here, because they've told me if that ever happens, mom and dad need to be here.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Great advice.
People are texting in saying, "Hey, thank you," because they had no idea that you think it's a minor, you're going to get a phone call,
Right.
And then of course the fear is your kid's going to narc on you, right?
Yeah,
that's what you got to worry about.
It could be that, of course. And there's a lot going on with these kids nowadays. I mean, on the one hand, we didn't have cell phones when we were all there. At least I didn't.
No.
Very thankful for that.
Right. I mean, it was
like
a
you
good,
said, teenage brain.
Right. So that can happen. So those are talks always to have with your kids. And of course, the other thing is we're seeing a lot of fentanyl overdoses out there, right? So these talks that you can keep having with your kids about, there's that temptation, right? Like, try this pill or try this thing, or I've done it and it's fine. And all it takes is one time, and there's an overdose, and you're never having it back.
Brutal.
And so these are hard discussions to have, but you got to have them frequently with these kids because they're really scary. I've got a kid under investigation right now, and there's a situation where somebody overdosed, right? And what can happen if you're the supplier of the drugs, or even giving a friend the drugs and you didn't buy them, but I give them to you, you give them to your girlfriend, she overdoses, they come all the way back to me, and I've never even met her or given her anything, and they charge me with a third-degree murder.
Oh my God!
A third-degree murder.
I want no part of that.
Right.
Wow.
Maybe I'm being overprotective, but I always tell my kid, like, don't take any food from friends just because you don't know. Like, you hear about these kids, like, they think it's Sour Patch Kids, it's something worse. You never know. So, I mean, it's like, I just tell them, if somebody's got candy or something like that, just skip it.
Yeah, I guess that could have. I never even thought of it that way, and I'm in this line of work. But that's a good point, right?
Yep.
So,
along the lines you mentioned, the sending photos, and I have a friend whose kid actually went through this. He sent a picture of himself. They talked to him saying, "Hey, you distributed child pornography," even though it was him willingly sending it to someone who requested it.
Sure.
And they asked, wouldn't the person who originally sent the picture also be distributing is the word?
Yeah. They typically won't go to that person to do it because that person's willingly doing it about themselves, okay? It's a different thing if, you send me a picture of you, and then without your permission or knowledge or consent, I go forward that to other people. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's usually not how that goes. And sometimes they'll give some leniency if it's juvenile to juvenile, right? Sometimes they'll give some leniency there. But it isn't. I mean, these pictures are just bad ideas all the way around.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
You never know where it's going to resurface. You want to run for mayor of your town 20 years later, and all of a sudden this thing comes out. I mean,
You're not really thinking about the long-term effects when you're doing that kind of stuff, though.
Nope.
Yeah, how many times have you heard about someone, usually it seems like an athlete because they're younger, so they go back 4 years on their Twitter account, and all of a sudden there's some major issues going on.
Right.
You need your own podcast, Short Bus Jesus said. I totally agree. I think we all do.
Yeah.
You should get your own thing going.
You got time for that, Ryan Pacyga?
I don't know. I've been asked about it, and I like what I do because I get to help people, right, one-on-one, and I really enjoy doing that with them. The podcast part would take some time away of what I do there, but on the other hand, it's more people I can educate about what their rights are and what the law is, and I do that because I like helping people too. So I don't know. It's something I've thought about, but I
think you've enlightened all of it. We've learned a lot. I mean,
we always do.
Sure.
We always do when you're in studio. A couple quick questions before we go for Ryan Pacyga. Here's a listener who says, I was charged with aiding and abetting a controlled substance in the 4th degree. Had the records sealed as part of a plea deal. How do I go about getting records unsealed?
Well, I don't know why you'd want to get that unsealed. If you meant that you had them expunged, that's sealed.
Maybe
right?
That's the word he was looking for.
And I don't think you could get them unsealed once they were ruled to be sealed. If you mean you want a copy of your file, you could ask the lawyer that represented you in that case, and they should still have, as long as it's been, there's a retention policy for every firm, but if it still exists, the lawyer can give you a copy of your file, and then you wouldn't have to run around and try to get it unsealed.
Aiding and abetting a controlled substance in the 4th degree. Now, I know nothing, but that doesn't sound terribly serious to me.
It's a felony.
Is it?
Yeah.
Ooh, Christ almighty. Here's a listener who says, my mom sold her van. Oh, a mom who owns a van? Now we're talking, right, fellas?
Yeah, that's a shaggin'
My
wagon.
mom sold the shaggin' wagon. My mom sold her van. The person never changed over the title. Now the van has been towed and ticketed. And that may go on her record since it's still in her name. What can she do?
Yeah, get down to the DMV and show if they didn't. She's got to show proof that she sold that thing because people sometimes they weren't won't go transfer the title over at the DMV. And she's getting ticketed for all these things. You got to put that out. That's why I think the best way to do these situations is if you're going to sell a vehicle, go right to the DMV with the buyer and make sure that the transfer is done right at the DMV that day, so this kind of thing doesn't happen.
Oh, that's smart.
Because if they go get in an accident later with that vehicle, you may run the risk of getting sued because you were the owner of the vehicle, even though you weren't the driver in that situation.
There's so many nightmares that we can fall into.
Yeah, there's landmines everywhere we go every day.
And I've heard I've heard cashier's checks even you got to be worried about nowadays. There might be some, because back in the day it was like, hey, you pay a cashier check for a used car and that was the safest thing you could do.
Yeah, those are supposed to be legit.
Or are there some fraudulent ones now or something?
So, it's like you're scared to do anything. The liability, that's probably why everything's so expensive. You're liable for everything.
Yeah.
You ain't lying, Cubby.
Right.
All right, we got to get going, but as usual, Ryan, this was enjoyable as hell.
I love it, man. I've been so grateful to be a part of this.
You don't need a friggin' podcast. Just swing by here every once in a while.
Anytime. Or you
man.
can call if there's a legal thing you're talking about on the studio and you want to give me a call and just ask a little bit about that as you're going. Give me a call. I'm here to help.
Yeah, we should thank you for that because there's been plenty of times over the years we've done that where we had a question and you always answer our calls. So thank you.
Glad everything's going well for you, and we hope to see you soon.
That sounds good.
Thank you, Ryan.
Go Vikes.
Yeah, no doubt. Safe travels to Pepper Huffer Jesus. He's going to Vegas, Nick. He's going to see Iron Maiden tomorrow night.
What the hell?
I bet that'd be fun to see them in Vegas or anywhere else.
They come to town here in, 18 days?
Something
October
like that,
22nd.
We got to get our act together, Cubby.
Yeah, we got to go.
We got to get ready for this.
That's the last time I saw them was probably the best concert I've ever been to. And these guys are like my parents' age.
They're getting there. They're getting there.
Happy early birthday to the little 12-year-old bug of need from Vitamin V Jesus from the family. Have a great, safe weekend, everybody else.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show. 93.
The 93X Half-Assed Morning Show podcast is sponsored by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. New episodes drop each weekday. If your podcast platform has ratings, go ahead and give us 5 stars and maybe give our enemies 1. Thanks, and here's a word from our sponsor.
Hey, Ashley here. Get your home ready for winter. Schedule your furnace tune-up with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning and save $30. Have a boiler? Save $40 on your boiler tune-up. Visit standardheating.com to book and lock in your savings. Stay cozy, stay ready.